Hey everybody, welcome to the live. Hopefully this is working. Let me just double check because I'm already always so paranoid. Yes, it looks like it's working. Hi everybody, welcome. Today we are going to be going through a live business planning workshop. So I'm super excited for this. Before we get started, I want to preface with what you need. So number one, you are going to need something to write on. Personally, I'm a fan of Post-it notes, but use whatever you want. Notebooks are fine too. Or if you don't have anything accessible, like you're traveling or something, in the description of this video and for anyone who's live in the chat right now, I have a free workbook for you guys. So if you head over there, you're going to be able to get my workbook, and then it's fillable on like phones and online. The workbook is going to have like what we're actually going to do right now, like step by step with the written paper. You're also going to get an agenda and an action plan. The agenda is going to have like the order I'm going to go in. Now, I have critical ADHD, so I made this. There is some potential I will go out of order by accident, but we're going to cover all the things there. So I apologize in advance if I jump around a little bit, but ultimately it will show you everything we're going to do. Then we're going to go through an action step kind of area on like how I do my full yearly planning with my team. And then we are also going to I made like some little like manifestation things essentially for phone backgrounds. I find it really helpful to have something that you're like looking at every day. So we're going to go through all of that. Now, I'm going to give you a second to go download that. I do require an email for that. The reason for that is I made this workbook at like 11 p.m. last night. So I'm probably going to add a couple things to it. And I want to have your email so I can send you any updates to it when I adjust things. So if you guys go run and grab that right now, you'll be able to work along with me. I also want to apologize a little bit. My energy levels are not going to be like Nina high as usual. I got some bad news yesterday about my grandma's health. She's still like here with us, thankfully, but it is not the best for me. So I'm doing my best. You can probably see I've tried to put on concealer under my eyes because it has been a bit of a rough couple days. So I'm going to try and keep my energy levels up. I'm going to rely on you guys a little bit to help me keep that up. And we're going to plan for an amazing 2025. Now, the order of kind of what we're going to do, we're going to be here for about 2 hours, I estimate. Now, if you know me, you'll know my estimates are not always correct. So I'm happy to go a little bit longer if you guys have additional questions. But for the first 90 minutes, it'll be us working together through the action plan, actually like planning your year right now. I'm not just going to tell you like, here's how you can like plan and then I walk away. We're going to do it together. And then at the end, we're actually going to do a Q&A where you can ask me questions. Now, because of my ADHD, you can probably see my eyes like darting a little bit. It's because I've accidentally opened 3 versions of YouTube on my other screen and the chat is scrolling on all 3. So I'm going to adjust that in a second. But because of that, I do get very, very distracted very easily. So I'm actually going to like minimize the chat as we go. Just that way I can really stay focused on delivering the best results to you. But put all your questions in there. I will scroll back up and I will be taking like notes on all of the questions, especially if you can't stay till the end. If anyone missed it as well, there will be a replay of this. So we're currently live on YouTube. This will live on YouTube afterwards. So the second we're done, this just has to like process for a second with YouTube, and then it will be here for y'all forever with the captions and everything. So basically, you can rewatch at any time. However, if you have questions after the fact, they got to go in the comments because the live chat, I don't know how to like recheck that after. I don't know if that's a thing. I have tried to set it so that it'll like stay up, but I don't know or understand fully how that works. I have only just learned that my lives had ads during them. And I just learned how to turn those off. So very new to this, figuring things out as we go, okay? So in today's session, what I want you guys to do to start with is I want us to start with an affirmation. So I get it. A lot of people are like manifestation, affirmations are like hippie woo woo. And like genuinely, I thought so too. But they actually make a huge difference. So I want us to start just like, and I want you to say this out loud as best you can, or mouth it if you're somewhere where you can't speak. If you're like in a coffee shop or something, like put your hand over your mouth, pretend to cough. I don't care. Honestly, scream it in your coffee shop. Like that's fine for everybody. For people saying they didn't get the workbook. Give me 1 second. This is what happens when I try to do the tech and I don't let Alex do it. So thank you for catching that. I'm glad I didn't minimize yet. So give me 1 second. I think I can probably just give you guys the delivery then, and then afterwards you'll be tagged, so I should be able to fix this later because I did something. My team are on holidays right now, and so I'm flying solo, and you can see like what a problem I am with my own tech. Here, I'll just drop the links in the chat. Okay, well, it would be helpful if I knew how to do that. Here we go. Okay, so I'm gonna drop it here. Okay, so the first link, the Google Drive link I just dropped, is the planner workbook. The second link is the agenda. And the third link is the phone wallpapers. There we go. If someone could please help me and play assistant for me, and if people are asking about this and like the chat moves, could you send them back here or someone copy and paste it to them, please? Thank you so much. I am so sorry. Again, this was a very last minute addition. I don't think I probably didn't set up the ConvertKit automation properly because I don't genuinely know how to do that very well. It's been a while. They updated their systems. So can someone confirm that those links work for them before I dive into affirmations and manifesting? Because before we manifest, we should probably have the tech working. Thank you guys, and thank you guys again for like letting me know immediately. And thank you for the well wishes for my grandma. She is the best at 95. So I don't know, she's my person. I'm sad that things aren't going as great anymore, but yeah, just hard to hear. Perfect, they work. Okay, yay. Thank you so much. And thank you to Wandering Smileys for saving them to share. You're amazing. Y'all are the best. I so appreciate you. I will figure out the tech to make this work so that if I make any edits, I can send them to you. Just that way it's like, and thank you, Penelope, as well. Just that way we make sure that like you guys get the best of this. Because I also do plan to try and take the transcript of this and make notes after so that we can have like a more accessible summary as well for people. And for anyone who doesn't know, all of my things live in a podcast feed as well. She Knows SEO. Give me 48 hours, but this will be up there as well. It just takes a while to render once I download so that you can listen on the go. Okay, now we're going to start with affirmations. None of my things ever run smoothly. I've never done a live that didn't have an issue, so this is very fun. So our first affirmation that I want you to say is, it is safe for me to set big goals. So I'm going to say it, and you can like say it with me, but it is safe for me to set big goals. Okay, now I want you to think about like how that made you feel and really like if you're feeling kind of like icky inside. I used to have that at the beginning. That usually means you're dealing with some money blocks, and so we got to kind of work through those. So the next thing I want you to say to yourself is, I deserve good things. I deserve good things. Okay. And now the last affirmation we're going to do, and feel free to say these all the time. I think it's really important to go through these, is like, and this is my favorite one, honestly, bigger dummies than me. Bigger dummies than me have succeeded, so why can't I? So, bigger dummies than me, it's not my affirmation. It is from Georgia Hardstark from My Favorite Murder, and it's my favorite one ever. Because honestly, other people have done this, so why can't you? Why can't you succeed? So I want you to like, if you felt really emotional during that, if those felt really intense, I really want you to try and say these to yourself more often afterwards, especially when we're done. I really want to make sure that you're able to keep processing this. And usually that means that you got some internal shame and fear. I definitely did early on. Now, like I say this to myself basically every morning. Theo and I sit there together and we have like a self-love session. So I definitely recommend, sorry, I'm just seeing stuff come through about the links will work from YouTube on the replay. I'll fix the download link so that the replay will work. So if you're watching the replay, the download by then should work. If it doesn't, then those links will be in the description of the video. That way, because my tech knowledge is bad, as we have learned. But yeah, I think those three affirmations are really important. Now, another thing I typically do is a pranayama breathing exercise, which is where you have like you rest your fingers on your nose. I just got a nose piercing a week ago, so I can't do it right now. So we're not going to do that together. But in the agenda, I noted pranayama breathing and I linked one of my favorite pranayama breathing exercises that I tend to do. So basically, what you do is you like block one nostril, breathe in from one side, then you go over, you close the other nostril, breathe out, and then breathe in, close, breathe out. So you're circling the breath. And so essentially, the way it's supposed to work is that you're breathing in good things, breathing out bad things, but it's also a way of making you focus on the breath. I'm very bad at meditations and things like that because I get bored. And so me focusing on my breath, I'm like, ah. But with this, I find like the way you rest your hand is interesting. So the coordination actually makes me focus and helps with the ADHD. So I really recommend that. And if you like even record yourself doing some affirmations, a friend of mine has a free app called Dudley, Dudley. Just realizing I didn't put that in the workbook, so I'll be putting that in after. But it is a free audiobook app, and you can actually give it your voice, just 2 minutes of your voice, and then it'll read the audiobooks in your own voice. And they have a free affirmations one that you can do that I've been doing a lot that I really love. And actually, I recorded my grandma's voice doing it so that every morning I have her telling me that, like, I'm great and I can accomplish all the things. So I definitely recommend checking that out, especially if you are struggling with things like this. Someone just said that they're a yoga teacher, and like, yeah, I love yoga teaching. I used to work at a yoga retreat in Spain, so that's where I got into pranayama breathing. I don't actually know if I say it correctly, to be honest, because they were Spanish, so I learned it with an accent. But it has helped me so much, and it's one of those ways to like just make some time for yourself. I recommend doing about 5 minutes every morning. Take the time to write down your affirmations or say them out loud. If it helps having like a partner say them with you, sometimes it's easier to hear from someone else. So make sure that you have them. So I'm going to just ask the name of the app. It's Dudley Editions. It's in the App Store. You get, I think there's a certain number of free credits. It's also like they have paid ones too. It's a great Christmas present. Just FYI, I'll plug my friend. She was also one of my profs when I did my master's in Oxford, so she's really cool. Okay, so now that we've done all of the things, I just want to show you, let me share my screen, make sure I share the right one, the problem with having multiple screens. So I want to show you the kind of the order that we're going to go in today. So we're going to start with goal setting. We're going to actually like talk about why we need goals and the way that we're going to define them, because a lot of people set goals in kind of a random way, and I was definitely guilty of that. Then my favorite thing, probably because I'm autistic, is I really love to reverse engineer things. So we're actually going to like start at the end and then reverse engineer to figure out how we're going to make it happen. So I do that monthly and quarterly, and then we're going to create an action plan that's like what we're going to do every single part of the month. I typically break it down into like each week because I'm a big fan of having like one week is one thing, the next week is another. Y'all know I love batch work. So then we're going to talk about how to actually accomplish these things and how to like hit our bigger goals without getting overwhelmed or burning out. Now, I can only speak to my experience and like I've been in therapy for 22 years now, so I feel like to some degree mini therapist. So I can speak to like some of the things I've worked on over the years and how I was able to work over 40 weeks last year, under 20 hours a week. And the rest of the weeks I mostly just wasn't working, to be honest. So there was one week I think I worked 30 hours, maybe 32. But this is how I've structured things without even needing to outsource a bunch of stuff. Then we're also going to talk about balancing failure and pivoting, because that was something I had to do in January last year. Is pretty quickly my mental health realized my insane goal was going to hurt me. And so I wanted to adjust things. So I'm going to talk through those, and then something that I ran this year or tried to run that failed, and work through that a bit. Then we're going to talk about my monthly business dates. So I'm a big fan of like having a check-in every month. I'm going to show you guys like kind of roughly how I do that, but ultimately that one's really personal, so figure out the best way for you. And then we're going to talk about my reward system because I am basically a golden retriever. I almost always have like treats on my desk. I don't right now because I just finished them, but like I have my green tea latte, I have my drink, I have usually like a thing of like snacky bits or something. But I also then have bigger rewards that I give myself. So we're going to go through all of that. I'm going to show you guys the action plan as we work through it. We'll go through the goal planner. The one that you guys have isn't in Canva. It's a PDF, and so it's editable. You will see like little blocks that are fillable. That's meant so that if you can't print it out, you're able to just like do it there. But again, basically post-it notes. And then we also are going to kind of write down our goal somewhere that we can see it all the time. So we have the phone wallpapers for that. I just made a bunch of versions with different backgrounds for like different types of manifestation and vibes, like whatever you want. But feel free to adjust and like change it out if you want to. Feel free to change the font. I gave you guys the Canva template, so you're able to play around with this so that you can make it something that works for you. Personally, I literally put a post-it note on the back of my phone. I do have to replace it a lot, but that's how I keep track of mine. And then just before we like fully dive in, I want to let y'all know that I'm currently running my biggest sale ever, called the Cost of Living is Fucked sale. So this is where you can go to get a bunch of really cool offers that I'm running. So I'm running my She Knows Everything bundle again. I'm running my SEO bundle. I'm running my AI bundle, and I'm running 30% off all of my offers except for two, the Profitable Part-Time Blogger, because I couldn't figure out how to discount that with the yearly thing, and one that I co-created with somebody. Now, for anything you buy in the sale, you're going to get a behind the scenes bonus. So that's in January. I'm running a full month where basically I'm going to put every single thing I do in a Google Doc as I do it, and you can ask me questions about it. And then I'm also going to run a content audit of She Knows SEO live and in a Google Sheet so you can see exactly what I'm doing and all my notes. And then it'll have a pop-up community. It looks like it's going to be on Facebook in a private Facebook group. But if you already have all of my offers and you're like, Nina, I want in, but I have like basically everything that works for me. I'm also doing a charity bonus so that if you aren't ready to buy anything for SEO or AI this year, that's totally fine. Honestly, I get that like not everyone feels comfortable right now. What you can do instead is donate to one of these charities. If you donate $20 USD or $25 Canadian, and 25 Canadian is actually like 17 USD now, because since I did this, the Canadian dollar has dropped drastically. So if you donate and just send us a screenshot, if you click here, it's an Airtable form. We just need the screenshot. You'll be entered in for that bonus as well. Everyone gets it. You'll get an email from me in January with all the info. But I really wanted to be able to give back because I've hit all my income goals this year. So I want us to help the world a little bit and make sure that you're able to, yeah, like participate even if you're not feeling SEO or whatever right now. So I'm going to drop a link to this in the chat, and then we are going to fully kick off. Thank you for the name was just like a random, I didn't know what to call it. So I just had some fun with it. Okay, so the very first thing we're going to do is we need to talk about SMART goals. A SMART goal is basically a goal that is specific, it's measurable, it's actionable, it's time sensitive. Nope, I missed one. I missed R. What am I talking about? Let me just double check what R is. Jesus. It's attainable, it's relevant, and it's timely. Oh, I should have kept the screen share up because I could show you it in the workbook. So here we have the SMART goal section where you can fill in what is it that you want to achieve? How can you figure out if you're going to achieve that? Is it actually possible for you to do it? Why does it matter? And when will it be accomplished? This is something that you'll find in a lot of like mindset books, but essentially what they're saying is like we need to pick a goal that isn't unreasonable, but we also need to pick a goal that it has a deadline. So what I find most people do is they say like, I want to get into Mediavine, I want to be a millionaire, and then they don't do anything to get there because when do they want that to happen? Should it happen this week, next week, in a year, in 10 years? And I was definitely guilty of that. So I think of SMART goals a bit like a challenge to myself. Like in the next year, what is my challenge that I'm trying to hit? Now, I am incredibly competitive. I am ridiculously competitive. And so for me, thinking of it as a challenge really helps, where I then have like a dedicated period of time that I have to like take action. So when I got into Mediavine in 6 months, my goal was actually 12. So I thought like, okay, I'm going to give myself 12 months. Let's see like if I can get into Mediavine. Otherwise, I got to go back to law school. And then I managed it in 6 months. I hadn't managed that in 4 years. And the main reason was I didn't really feel like I had to push. I felt like, okay, I can just like get to this eventually. It'll happen eventually. And so I also wasn't taking like risks or investing in myself. And I don't just mean like with money, I mean with time and energy and effort to actually like make this happen. So for me, gamifying it really helps, and that's something we're going to talk about a bit today. But first, we need to set your SMART goals. Now, most people will pick like a few different goals for the year, and I think that that is best. So what I want you to start with is picking three. We want three goals that you are going to achieve in 2025. And these can be personal goals, they can be business goals, they can be financial, they could be like getting into Mediavine. It can be anything that you want as long as you can break down a SMART structure for it. So rather than just saying, I want to make $500,000, it's I want to make $500,000 from my business. You got to be specific because Denise Duffield Thomas, she has a book, Get Rich Lucky Bitch. It's one of my favorite books. And in it, she talks about like the problem is if you manifest money, you could accidentally say like, oh, I want to have $500,000, and then your grandma dies. And like, especially because I'm in that right now, like getting close to it, I don't want that. So I'm not manifesting that way. I want it to be very specific. It's coming from my business. I even get specific to like, is it USD or Canadian? Because I'm Canadian, which has been great for me this month because our dollar is crap. So really good if you're Canadian to transfer any USD right now to Canadian. Otherwise, it sucks the other way around. And then we want to have a time period. When is this going to happen? So within the year. The attainable we will work on together today to actually like figure out the action plan to get there. So I'm going to give you guys a minute or two to write down three goals. These should be goals that excite you, that are fun, that are relevant to like what it would mean to be successful to you, and that won't hurt you. I think that's really important. I don't want anyone selecting something like, oh, I want to make $1 million, but then you're not going to sleep the whole month or you're going to like rob a bank. Let's not do that. We don't advocate that over here. Okay, so take a minute, get out whatever you're writing on, and I want you to use, if you're using Post-its, three separate Post-its. Write out your three goals. If you're using a notebook, then I want you in like the biggest letters you can to have like goals and then like write out the three different goals. If you're using my notebook, what you're going to do is have three versions of it with this yearly goal. So you're actually going to open three copies of it and put a different yearly goal for each one, because every goal we have is going to naturally have its own plan for how we achieve it. So I'm going to be quiet for a second and give you all a second, but if you feel comfortable, pop one or all three into the chat and I'm going to be taking a look. Okay, Wandering Smiley says first goal is being able to do $10,000 by December, 5K by summer. So per month, I'm guessing then. And then end of the year, end with $50,000 per month or per year in my pocket from my, yeah, I think per year in my pocket from my business by December. That's a great goal. I really like that. I also think it's important to figure out if like your goal is profit or revenue and things like that. I learned earlier this year, I didn't know what profit was or what revenue was, and I have been accidentally sharing my profit with everybody for years. So I think it's important to figure out, sorry, someone's 10K by December. Oh, yeah, okay. Sorry, I was reading the chat as I was going. Oh, 10K walk, being able to walk 10K. Okay, I went immediately to money. That's on me, my bad. Yeah, totally fair. And then, sorry, what was I gonna say? ADHD. I don't remember. We'll get back to it. Okay, then we have $50,000 per month money in my pocket. Yeah. And then we have at least 50K till 2026. Earn $100,000 from business in 2025, have a fully hosted and get paid 1 month stay in various countries in Europe, get 10,000 subscribers for my email list. Love it. We have get a book deal by my major publisher by the end of 2025. I love that. By my birthday in May, be making a consistent 3,000 pounds a month, as this will completely replace my full-time job. Love that. Double my earnings. When you have a few too many, or when you have too few or too many goals, can you have sub goals? Yes. So when we do our quarters, that's going to have sub goals. So this is your like overarching, like big dream goal. So for me right now, my goal for next year is 500,000 USD. That's kind of what I would like to have. And then within that, it's from my business. And then there's different ways I plan to accomplish it. So a lot of like the little goals that we'll talk about in a minute for some of the stuff that I'm looking at doing next year, it has like they kind of build together to be a part of that. So think of like the big goal that like by the end of the year, this will make me feel like a success. I like doing a big annual like income goal. That's really fun for me. And then I like to do quarterly, kind of as I talked about, like themes almost. So we'll go through those a little bit later. But for my big yearly goal for 2025, it is 500,000 USD. And my goal with that is that I want all of that to be profit. That's what I'm working towards because yeah, I want it. I don't need to justify it. That's my goal. Okay, we have more of uh, make more money than I spend on my blog. I would get specific though, because like we don't know how much are you spending on your blog. Will you spend more? Have a specific number. It's a lot easier, especially to reverse engineer. We have $6,000 to $7,000 months, working a max 20 hours per week. Love that. Finish my ebook, written, published, for sale, everything. I would go a step further because I think finishing the ebook is the action plan. What's the goal? Is there an income amount? Is there a number of sales? Is there like an award that you want to win? Like what would be the big result? Like why are we finishing the ebook? Then we have earn $100,000 from my business from specific sources. Love that. Get 10K monthly views on my blog, make $10,000 a month, reward myself with a dream vacation. We're going to talk about rewards. I love that. To grow my TLT podcast into a leading voice by so what does significantly increasing listenership mean? Like what number? What are we targeting? Because having specific numbers is really helpful. We have buy a small apartment in Provence. Love that. We have I'm in the starting phase of a project, so I need a bit more time to get moving. I think having $1,000 a month would be a good start. Yeah, and you can reassess your goals later on as you go. Quit my day job by June 30th, but making at least 50K on my blog slash affiliates slash sponsored travel by then. Love it. Grow traffic to 100K per month. Yes. Okay, these are all great. So now that we have 3 goals that we are going to focus on kind of overall for the year, I want us to pick one for today's session. And that's just because we don't have all the time in the world. So what I want you to do is pick up whatever one that you've done that is your main goal. So I have 500K here. This is going to be my goal for the year. 500, I know my writing's horrible, just ignore it. I have crushed nerves in my arm. So we want to make sure that this is a goal that it feels a little bit uncomfortable to write down. It feels a little bit like we need to like stretch ourselves a bit, that it's something that we really have to push towards. Actually, as I write down 500,000 and I look at it, I'm like, I could do that. I could definitely do that. So when we feel that way, when we're like, I can definitely hit this, what we're going to do is actually rip it up and we're going to try again. So we don't want to have anything where our goal is too small. We want to have a big goal. I forgot I was still screen sharing. Someone just said they couldn't see the writing. Well, I've ripped it now, so it's ripped. So because I've already done that before, last year I did 600K. This year my goal was lower. I'll talk about that in a second, but I hit my goal this year. So I've hit my goal now 2 years in a row. And remember that with these goals, like there's no actual failure. Like what's going to happen if you don't hit it? Is someone going to die? No. We are not surgeons. We are not any of that. So what we want to do is make sure this is something that is a reach for us, but it's just a little bit of a reach. It's just like nervous, like butterflies in your tummy. It's not like, oh, I'm running to puke in the bathroom because I'm panicked. So what I'm going to write down instead is 750K because it's a bigger goal. It's more than I did before. And I'm going to set some parameters with that. So for me, it's working maximum 20 hours per week and taking a certain number of weeks or months off per year. This is also, to me, there's a few different things that like I have planned in the back that I'm going to talk about when we get into the monthly actions. But essentially, I'm writing down something where I'm looking at this right now and going, ooh, okay. I think maybe we could do it, but like we'll have to like figure that out. And then we're going to figure it out together. So I want you to then take this yearly goal and put it somewhere where you are going to see it every day. So I have my laptop in front of me and my desktop computer. I'm going to put it on my desktop on the bottom little bit. That way, every single day while I'm working, I'm going to look at that. When I was getting like my 6 months to Mediavine plan in place, I put a post-it note that said Mediavine on my laptop. So I saw it every day, no matter what I was doing. I think it's really important to have it in front of your face so that you know what the goal is. Now, if you have three goals, I would have three separate post-its. I wouldn't put them all on the same one. I would put them separately. But again, for today, we're working with one goal, okay? So make sure you have that written somewhere. If you don't have it like written down yet, remember we have those wallpapers where you can go and like put that on your phone. You can also like write it down later and put it on your laptop. But I would say by January 1st, I want you to have this up and in front of you for when you're taking action next year, okay? So now that we know what our big goal is that we need to figure out how are we going to hit that. Now, the way that like blogging works, it isn't kind of, I don't know, exponential growth income where it's like always going to go up and it's not always static. So if I have my 750K goal, I'm gonna need to open my calculator because I panic anytime I try to do mental math in front of y'all. I'm not that bad at it, but I just panic. Okay, so 750 divided by 12. Well, it'd be good if my keyboard had turned on when I started writing that. 750 divided by 12, it would be $62,500 per month. So I could say that that's my monthly goal, but it's unlikely that I'm going to consistently make the same amount of money every single month. It's kind of just not what entrepreneurs do. So instead, what I need to figure out is, okay, if I've averaged, I don't know, 50,000 a month, then yeah, I could probably within a month or two kind of scale to that amount. But if I've averaged a lot less, then I'm going to kind of reduce it. So for example, when it was my Mediavine goal, and then when I had like kind of a $500,000 a month goal, I didn't just go like, okay, we're going to do same amount every month. It was like, we're going to do 10,000, then 15, then 25, then whatever, based on trends for my industry so that I knew like, okay, this niche does really well on for ad revenue in the summer, so my summer can pick up. But maybe actually in December, it's going to drop again. So I need to make sure that I'm like prepared for a bit of a drop and that I don't panic. Now, with She Knows SEO, I've had two different 100K months. They have both happened in the summer, but the actual reason was that each one was kind of like tied to not necessarily a sale, but like some sort of like big launch. And so I can actually predict now, okay, well, launching matters, not so much the time of year. So I know that I'll plan for a big launch to happen at some point. So that's kind of how I start reverse engineering things. So if my goal is 750K, then each month I'm going to set kind of what benchmark or milestone I need to have hit to feel like I'm on my way there. So let's say January is, I don't know, 30K. And then February is going to be 40K. And then, or maybe it'll still be 30K because February is short. Then March will be 50K. And then summer, maybe I'm going to go up because I plan to do a launch. So maybe like 1 month I'm planning 100K. Then I come back down because the launch will end. That's fine. Just break it down in a way where you feel like, okay, each month I have my goal. So for me, what I like to do is I have my minimum every month that I need to hit, like bare minimum, and then I have my goal per month. So like this year, my goal every single month was $20,000 per month in profit. I hit that. I didn't have a single month that went below that, which was really exciting and very fun. But I then had many months that went far above that, but I had my minimum. So I like to have both the goal and the minimum. I don't know why, I just like it. So what I do then is I'm going to write out on 12 different post-it notes all of the individual kind of milestones that I plan to hit. So again, let's say 30K is the first month. And to help me kind of keep track, I usually do write like Jan at the bottom or something. Just that way I can like make sure I know which month this is for. And what I like to do is you can either like lay it out on your desk, you can put it up on a wall, you can put it like in a notebook even. You just want to make sure it's somewhere. But don't stick these down solidly yet because we're going to lift them up in a second to do something. So I just want to make sure that I have this kind of written down somewhere. This is going to help you like actually have steps that you're going to take. So I would love you guys to take a minute and figure out kind of what some achievable goals are in the first at least 3 months of the year to get you moving towards this. And these are like, it's a milestone. It's not the action steps you're going to take. So right now it's usually income. If that was income, we had someone doing like a 10K walk. So then a certain number of kilometers you're going to hit each month to get near there. We could have, sorry, I'm trying to think of what the other thing I was going to say was. I just got distracted because I saw something come up in the chat. It could be someone said they want to like launch a business. So it could be that like you need to get this main system kind of organized by then. But essentially it's like you kind of pushing forward a little bit more. So someone asked, what did you make before the 600K a year? 60K. It was a big, big jump. It was insane. That was a wild jump. I didn't expect it. So for me, yeah, it was wild. Most people in my life told me to just save it because it would never happen again. And then, spoiler alert, it did kind of happen again last year. So it was fine. So I panicked, but in kind of an insane way. It also, that was like my biggest earning year ever. And then I had a mental breakdown for other reasons. But I will just say money is not everything. Someone says, what would work for this in terms of consistent monthly income? Because that would be kind of the goal. So if the goal is like 3,000, I think it was pounds for you, I don't, by May, then figure out what your income is now and then start increasing it incrementally. So let's say you're doing £1,000 a month now and you want to hit 3,000 by May, then have like $500 increase or £500 increases each month till you get there. If it's less, then break it down a bit more. So it would be like 1,500 a month, and then you want 2,000 a month, then you want 2,500 a month, and then you want to like probably hit 3,000 a month the month before. That way it can kind of keep going. So that would be how I would start kind of setting up kind of the 12-month breakdown. Someone says a number of monthly viewers is a goal to get on. Yes, that's a good goal if you want to get on Mediavine. So then you'd have like your number of page views per month probably that you're going to hit for each of those. Penelope says the biggest issue right now is my month might be £50 one month and then 2K the next. So with that, we want to manifest, we want to pick a manifestation goal. Action steps, we're going to cover how we actually get there. So right now, I would just write down like what the big goal is here. I set my goals in USD because I work in USD for my business. So for me, everything's USD. I find it like I have Canadian goals too, personally, but I don't share Canadian goals because the Canadian dollar is weird compared to the US dollar. So I just share the US dollar. Do you have an overarching marketing strategy? I don't really know what you mean by that. I was wondering how you decide on which marketing channels to use so that the goals don't become random. So that would come under action. We're not there yet. You guys are jumping ahead a bit. I want to make sure that we just are like sticking with our current thing because don't worry, I'm like moving you guys through the exact order I do this in. Take the time to do it in this order. Don't jump ahead. And Phoenix Travels, action steps. We'll get there. Don't worry. So what I want you to do now is have your 12 kind of ready mentally, but at least have 3 written out, okay? Have January, February, and March. And remember, like these are adjustable. This is a workshop. You guys can rewatch this after, but I want you to go with your gut. Like what is the dream amount you would hit in each of those months that would kind of get you towards the goal? What's the number of page views? What's the number of kilometers you're going to walk? What's the number of hours you're going to work? Whatever. We want to like write down something that we're going to look at and manifest all the time so that it's like very obvious to us like what we're aiming for. Again, we're reverse engineering. So we can't decide action plans until we know what we're aiming for. A lot of you guys are jumping to that. That should not inspire your income. Your like income goals or your ultimate goals should inspire your action. If you're taking action to achieve a goal, but you don't set the goal until the actions are done, you haven't set a goal. We want to like work backwards. So in the Profitable Part-Time Blogger, I teach this like at the beginning of the course is like set what your intention is. And then in every module, we reverse engineer. So like if you're like, I want to make $5,000 a month consistently, then we look at like, well, how many page views do you need for that? Okay. Here's how many page views you need, then here's the number of keywords you need to write to achieve that. Then if it's, I don't know, maybe you want half of it to come from affiliates, half to come from digital products. Well, then we need to make sure we have affiliates that are going to earn us enough. So how much do I get paid on average from Viator? Reverse engineer it to then figure out how many page views do I need roughly, or how many people do I need to book that thing for me to make that amount? And then how many page views do I need to hit that based on my conversion amounts? Same for digital products. So reverse engineering is how I do everything. And it's very much what I owe my success to. So I 100% like recommend take the time to write these out, feel like a bit overwhelmed about that, and then we'll get into the action steps. Okay. I'm going to stop looking at the chat because it's distracting me. And remember, I'll get to the questions at the end. But this is why I want to go in order, is because the order is so important. Start at the end, and then we'll work to the beginning, okay? So at this point, I've talked for long enough. You should definitely have your main goal done, and you should have those first 3 months done. So we're going to zoom in a little bit more on that first quarter. So I mentioned that I theme my quarters. Now, growing up, my mom, who definitely has a touch of neurospiciness, love her, but she definitely does. She would do this thing where we would have like seasons. So my mom loves to cook. So once we had the summer of empanadas, where all we ate for an entire summer were different empanadas that she made. My mom's Russian. She's not Spanish in any way. Another time we had a summer of crostini, and I didn't know it was possible to hate little baguettes, but after a full summer where that's all you're eating, you start disliking them. And then I found out I was celiac, and then it made sense why I hated them. So basically, the way that I run my business is kind of similar because I like to batch work. So if I have my certain goals of 30K per month, then 40, then 50, then whatever, where I'm breaking it down for those 3 months, I then want to theme what that quarter is about. So when I had like my big month kind of scaling from, I had my first $10,000 month, and I scaled it to $30,000 in 6 months, $30,000 per month in 6 months, is I did what I called the summer of affiliates, which then became the winter of affiliates. So essentially what that meant was all I did during that time was work on affiliates. That's why I structure the Profitable Part-Time Blogger in the way that I do, is where it's like quarterly little things you're doing, because I really like chunking things down. So that's where another one of our things comes in. Let me share my screen again. Oh no, Zoom, get out of the way. There we go. That is here. So in our 2025 action plan, this is where we're going to write down what our focus is. So you can see I say Q1 focus. So for me, it's really important to know like what is my non-negotiable for that month. This is actually something I kind of developed with my therapist because I was realizing as I tried to organize things for my team for 2025, I had like 20 things every month. And I had this massive fear as someone who's chronically ill that I wouldn't actually be able to attain any of these things. I was like, shit, I'm not going to be able to accomplish this because like in the summer I was supposed to have PPTB finished in August, and then I had a summer of migraines, and then I've been driving to Toronto like every week and spending 5 hours a day beside my grandmother basically since July. So like I have not had as much time as I would have liked to do things, and I really beat myself up for that. So the way that I'm kind of avoiding that for next year is having like my non-negotiable for each section. So in Q1, my non-negotiable kind of accidentally became two non-negotiables. Is I came up with this really cool idea for a summit slash virtual retreat that I've never seen done before. And so that's kind of my focus. It's going to go live in March. I'm super excited for it. I've already started doing some outreach to speakers. So stay tuned on that. But it's going to be like a specific thing. And so to me, I'm like, if nothing else happens, if I get nothing else done, at least that got done. And for many people, an easier way to think of that is that you set kind of a sub goal. So that's where sub goals come in. So it could be that your Q1 focus is hitting a certain amount passively per month. It could be that this is the time you're going to focus on like a content audit. And then the next one is going to be on scaling the affiliate sales because Q1 is a really good time to do content audits. RPMs are typically low for many niches. It's a low time. So it tends to be a good time. And if you have a certain goal by the end of the year, it's better to get those updates out of the way immediately so that you're not like dragging down traffic right before you get into the network or something. So you would have that as your focus. Then Q2, you would do the next thing. So if you're like, okay, my goal is Mediavine and my second goal is $10,000 a month or something, well, Mediavine's not going to get you to $10,000 a month. It'll get you like 2,000 to 5,000 depending. But ultimately, I would definitely recommend focusing on affiliates and a product. So what I would then do is do in Q2, I'd focus on affiliates because they take a minute to work. So now we've had Q1 is like setting our SEO up properly, auditing our site. Q2 is then us focusing on one of the money-making aspects of our business. But we can't make money if we don't have traffic first. So we got to get that traffic first. And then we can figure out what the next steps are. So I want you to look at your goals for Q1 and figure out what's the theme? What's like the focus? Is this going to be your like winter of what? I again like love summer of affiliates was very fun. And I use summer specifically because that's when I first started like kind of thinking of it this way. But it could also be like Q1 is your SEO winter. It could be that Q1 is your passive income time. Like you don't have to stick to a specific way of making money. It could be that Q1 is like your amp up. Maybe that's like a time that you know you're going to be home a lot. You know that you have time. So it's going to be when you like just do a ton of work. And then maybe Q4 is much more of like a chill time. Like you know that it's a busier season or your vibes are just low. Like I know many people get seasonal effectiveness disorder and like so or even just like hay fever in summers. So like for me, summer sucks because like my migraines are awful. So I don't plan big things for summer. Or well, I'm learning to not plan big things for summer as someone who tried to plan big things for summer last year. So I want you to figure out what is going to be your Q1 focus. What is going to be like kind of the theme of the action steps we're going to take. Now, if you're not 100% sure yet, we can do the action steps first. That's okay. But I do find like setting a quarterly kind of almost like a mini milestone or a sub goal is really helpful to be able to see if you're on track. So let's say if my goal is 750K per year, then maybe my goal is like maybe Q1's a really good time for me. So let's say my goal is I need to have 250K by the end of Q1. And if I only do 50K, then something really is like not gone to my plan. I need to adjust. I don't really want to wait until like November to realize I'm very far off my goal. I need to like look at my goal and figure that out. So I would love if you guys put in the chat what your Q1 focus is going to be. And yet someone says that summer's about migraines, hate being in the sun, so stay inside and work a lot. That's like a much smarter way to do it, honestly. I go out a lot in the summer now that I live like near my sister and she has a really fancy cottage and Theo loves the lake. So I accidentally end up in the sun a lot and then I get heat stroke like 8 times. So not my best. Learning to take care of myself, learning to adult. I feel like by the time I turn 30 next year, I should like have some semblance of ability to take care of myself. But okay, it looks like people are still figuring out kind of the Q1 focuses. So take a second and still like figure out kind of what works for you. But let's now dive into, oh, do we have some coming in? Okay, here we have some coming in. There's always a delay with YouTube. I always forget that. Q1 blog content, so new posts and updates. Marcus says writing 50 articles and gaining knowledge. She hit refresh is focus on systems and content. Phoenix Travels is growth for visitors and subscribers. We have content audit, we have writing, we have sorry, PIPs or P. Oh, I know what the PIP. I know what that is then. Sorry, I was like, is it PL? I can never tell when it's like a lowercase L or a capital I. So Sadie says, Q launching the podcast in Q1, hitting 1K subscribers on YouTube. 30 blog posts, setting the foundation to grow the blog, starting new sites, era of content creation. I love that, Natalie. We have winter of content. I like that. SEO and site speed. Q1, winter of pitching. Ooh, that's exciting. Oh, that's a lot of things. Then a content audit and socials, creating content from my Q1 trips. Yeah, that's fair. Those do work well together. Q1 focus, learn about SEO and Pinterest marketing. We have audit website and relaunch online class with all the stuff that goes with that. Content audit and Pinterest. We have affiliates. Epic. I love this. We've got a lot of different things, which is so great. And really, like, remember, my version of theming things, some of y'all may hate that. You could also just have it like as whatever. I like it. I think it's fun. And it kind of makes it gamified. Again, it feels a bit like it's like a season of television or something. So now that you know what your like quarter is going to be, we need to start looking at those 3 months again that we looked at before with our goal. So if my goal is 30K in January, realistically, I can probably do 5 things in the month. Now, you're probably going to say, like, Nina, I see you're like, I used to do these a lot more. Right now, my social media team's testing other stuff, but I would post like what I do in a day on socials. And people were like, how the fuck did you do all of that? But ultimately, like, those are little things. But what I mean is, with these weeks, we want to have the non-negotiable, what we're going to achieve. Now, I started doing this back when I was working 4 jobs and blogging. So what I would do is like basically in January, I think my goal, it was like when I was doing my 6 months to Mediavine, I think that was the writing month. It may have been the keyword research. Oh, no, that was my content audit month. So that was my content audit month. So my goal overall for the month was like, I need to finish this content audit because that's going to like get me to a certain traffic level. It didn't in the end. That month tanked my traffic because that's what a content audit does, but I'd never done one before. So I didn't know that. So what I did is that each week I told myself, you need to have hit this many posts that you've updated, or you need to do this part of the updates. So week 1, I knew I'd be like slow getting into it. So what I chose then, sorry, my nose just got really itchy and it's like so uncomfortable with the piercing to try and like itch my nose now. So I'm like, keep trying to like rub it. And then I'm like, nose piercing. I will say, easiest piercing I've ever gotten. It doesn't hurt that bad, but I'm trying to be careful with it because it doesn't hurt, I keep touching it. Okay, so week 1 was easy updates. So those were the ones that like just needed a little overhaul. And I kind of tied that in with like no indexing stuff that I was just going to get rid of. So it was easy to be like, these are the ones that are a quick action, easy immediacy. And then for the next, I don't remember if there was 5 weeks that month. I think there may have only been 3. What I did for those weeks then, I was like, okay, then I need to hit this number of posts that I'm going to have updated in that period of time. And I themed it again a little bit because I think it's really good to batch essentially. So I would do like, okay, week 2 was I'm gonna do all of the stuff for this silo. So let's say for my Canada silo. Then the next week, maybe back then I had some solo female travel stuff. So maybe it was for that silo. Then week 4 was New Zealand. And then let's say there was a week 5, it was all the other random destinations I had. So that's how I made sure it was kind of like specific and actionable for each week. Of course, I wanted to do more things and I had more things that like I probably would get to, but these are our overall to-do list. It is our non-negotiable, like we are accomplishing this thing sort of a list. And I find if you put less stuff on it, you're going to have less overwhelm. So yeah, for sure, there's a bajillion other things you're going to want to do during that. But just having it broken down with like week 1 is going to be X, Y, Z is really helpful. So with my team, something that we did, because I'm trying to like actually give them more than 12 hours notice when I run sales and do things. I now have a rule that for myself that I need to like wait and give them like at least a week notice, is I'm trying to figure out when are things going to happen. So like in January, I know that week 3, my plan is to, if my keyboard would turn on, launch a new course. So that means if that's when that's going to launch, then week 1 needs to be creating the course because it doesn't exist yet. And then week 2 is probably going to be about some of the different things I've done. Like I have some sponsorships I need to get done. I have some free content I'm planning to do. I have like a schedule I've given myself for content next year. So I would say this is creating free content. And then week 4 could be something else. What's the next thing I need to do? Well, all of this, if like that, let's say my goal is 30K, well, then that course needs to hit a certain amount, blah, blah, blah. That course has probably gotten somewhat there. So maybe this is an affiliate push. Maybe this is when I do an affiliate audit or a content audit or whatever. Remember, we're working for one specific goal at a time here, but a lot of your things will probably cross between stuff, especially because so many of us have goals that are similar. So like income, traffic, they go hand in hand. So you're not going to have like three things each week. The weeks we just want one thing for. And so here, I have creating the course, creating free content, launch a new course, let's say an affiliate audit, and then week 5, maybe it's, I don't know, trying to think of anything else that is on my list for what I'm doing next year for January. I'm trying to use real examples to make it clear like what I actually do. Maybe week 5 is, let's say it's pitching. I don't know. So let's say I'm like gonna go pitch to be on other people's podcasts and for some sponsorship opportunities. Now I know my minimums. These are the things that like I have to get done. Anything else I get done is a bonus. But I know that these are things that are going to get me to my goal. And the reason that I chose pitching and affiliates is because even if they'll take a minute to kick in, if like the course launch kind of gets me to 30K, these are things that can move me towards the 750K later. So we're going to get closer and closer to it with everything we're doing. The reason I wanted us to zoom out first is so that then when we're looking at these like micro action steps that we're going to take, we're choosing to prioritize the steps that are going to get us to that goal. So that's why we need to know what the end result is so we can reverse engineer to figure out what we're doing along the way. So this is not by any means something that's like completely stuck in stone. You're going to adjust a little bit, but I want you to take a minute right now to go through and set up your January. If you feel like comfortable, you can also set it up for February and March. Just copy and paste like what was here. I'm going to clean this out because this is the one you guys are making copies of. But just copy and paste it. If the month has a week 5, put that in. What we've done for my business for January is we're treating like that first kind of little bit of a week, like the first 3 days, as though that doesn't exist. So it's the next week we're starting with, because realistically, most of my team is off, and like I should probably be off a little bit. I don't like winter, so I like to work and hibernate. And so because of that, we only have 4 weeks in January, even though there's kind of technically 5. You can adjust as you see fit, basically. But basically, you just want to have a sense of what the steps are and what you're going to have like kind of as a weekly theme. So I would love to hear what some of your breakdowns are. Feel free to just share a week. Feel free to just share like the 4 with commas in between, whatever feels comfortable. But I would love to know what is working well for you guys. I see a bunch of questions. I'm going to stand by my initial statement that I will do them at the end. Don't worry, I'll scroll back to the top so you've not been missed, I promise. But just yeah, I will get to them. Penelope says, my nose piercing made me cry. Yeah, when I got it done, I do have a video. I sent it to my social media team because I got it mostly to piss off my sister because that's how I do things. It was on a whim last week when I had 2 hours between a full day of content shoots and a blogger meetup dinner with some friends in the city. And I was like, I have 2 hours. I don't know what to do. I'm gonna get a nose piercing. And Sophie will hate it. So I went and got it done. And he was like, you can film, but you probably don't want to hold it. And I was like, why? I'm like, I have like 8 other piercings. I'll be fine. I have never cried so much. And like, not even that it hurt, it's just your eyes water so intensely. It's very funny. So like, yeah, the video is like me just like kind of there and my eyes are closed and then I open them and all of a sudden it's just like streaming down my face. Accidents happened, my bad. So yeah, do not recommend holding it. So I put it against like a wall on the side. But yeah, now I have my pretty little nose piercing and I might get a second one. We'll see. Because I really like it when you have like 2 rings, but I didn't know you have to wait 6 months to get a ring. So that's interesting to know. Probably should have done some more research before I did these things. Oh, sorry, some text messages are coming through if you're hearing some buzzing. Alex has just noticed that I messed up the setup, so she'll get the setup fixed. My bad. Thanks, Alex. I must be like horrible to work for. I am basically a boomer at this point. Okay, we have Phoenix Travels, January, 10,000 unique visitors, 500 subscribers. Week 1 would be amputee travel silo. Ooh, interesting. Sensory travel silo, then travel gear silo, and then right cluster for all destinations. I love that. Ooh, I want to know what sensory travel is. I'm gonna have to go check out your blog after because that sounds really interesting. I'm getting more into like kind of sensory safe travel for me. With the autism, I've realized I fuck myself over a lot with things like that. If anyone else feels comfortable even just sharing 1 week of what you want to do, you don't have to. The ones that I shared are what I'm doing. Week 4, I don't think we're focusing on an affiliate audit. I think week 4 was actually me doing something for the next month. But I think it just says paid content right now in the one that we have because we're trying to figure out if I'm doing another course in February or if we're launching our done for you services in February because it's something that we're opening next year because I get asked about it a lot. So we're figuring out a launch date for that because I do require like a bit more help setting up all the tech for that, as we've seen. Week 1, photo editing, begin content audit. Week 2, write up blog posts from Q4 trips. Week 3, pitching. Week 4, getting there on 4 and 5. Love that. Yeah. So this is the thing is like just get started and you can adjust. And definitely like the great thing about all of this, and this is why this part I put into a Google Doc, is that you can move it around. Like you don't have to keep it stuck where it is. Okay, because we're at the hour mark, I'm going to keep moving a little bit. So I want to talk about scaling without burnout. So you can see up at the top here, we have something called weekly themes. So we have week 1 to 5 up at the top. And some of you guys are probably like, what's that? Why is that there? So this is something that I did that basically was me setting boundaries. So I was talking to my therapist about like how I can stop triggering myself with my own schedule because it's something I do a lot where like the ADHD part of me wants to say yes to everything and loves doing everything. And then suddenly I have 100 calls. And then the autistic side of me like needs routine, but the ADHD side doesn't want it. And then the autistic side needs to like hide from people a lot. So it just became a whole problem. So what I realized is I need to set boundaries with myself as well. And so what I've done with these weekly themes is I've kind of set up like essentially a pattern for the year where week 1, I'm always working on some form of paid content. So a course, a launch, whatever. It's going to be something where like the main bulk of what I do that week is going to be preempting something that's going to launch later. Week 2 is going to be me doing my like free work. So that's where I'm going to do my free YouTube videos, my free blog posts. It's where I'm going to batch my newsletters, all that. So that's where I'm going to get kind of the bulk of that stuff done. Week 3, we're going to have some form of launch, whether it's like a full launch of like a new product or an existing product, or it could even just be like we're doing an affiliate promo or we're promoting an affiliate. And some months we might skip it. In summer, it's a bit, we're not really sure if we're going to do it. We're looking at the first 2 quarters right now, but that gives me like kind of a rough outline to know what I'm going to be doing. So then week 4, again, we're kind of going back to paid content. And then week 5, I don't remember what we put for week 5, but essentially that was kind of a rough schedule. And then what we did as well is that for certain weeks, I'm allowed to have calls and other ones I won't allow calls. So in my paid content creation week, I really want to lock into my recordings and doing whatever I'm doing. So I don't want to be interrupted with calls. So that's a no call week. Then week 2, I'm open to calls, but I only have certain days that I can do them. Week 3, same thing. Week 4, same thing. Week 5, if we have it, no calls. And so setting these boundaries kind of up top is quite helpful to know when you're looking at your schedule later, what am I doing and where am I putting stuff? So I also know for me as a woman that a certain week every month, I feel like crap. And so I know that's not a week where like I want to be showing up live on calls. It's not a week where I want to do a ton of recordings that are going to be like locked in forever because I know that I get really puffy. Now, for me, it's before my period. For some people, it's during their period. So you can kind of mark that down here. Now, I'm not ever been one of those women that can like track any of that stuff well. I don't understand women who have like the consistency to do that. Like not even just that like my body isn't consistent, my brain isn't consistent. So you can adjust this to make it work for you. But essentially, you're gonna set your boundaries here. And I think that's really important. Now, another thing that I do is I use a color-coded priority list. So I mentioned before that like my Q1, I have one non-negotiable. I actually have two because I already had a course launch that was going to happen. And then I had the summit idea and I want to get the summit idea done before summer because I think it's really going to help people. And I don't want to do it in summer. So it got moved a little bit. But essentially what I'm doing is I just color code so that at a glance, I know like things can move. So in Q1, we have a launch of my community course in January, and it has to launch sometime in Q1. If it gets moved to February, that's fine. But I know that this quarter that has to happen. Same with the summit, that one's locked in. Then for Q2, I'm doing a big launch of the Profitable Part-Time Blogger with a bunch of like new bonuses and things like that. And so I have that locked in. Q2, that is the only thing that has to happen. Someone asked in the chat before, like how I build in times for being sick or how I build in times for like not feeling well. This is how. So basically, when I can preempt something, I try to do that, but I can't always. Like, I have times like I couldn't have preempted that my grandma would get like really not well this week, and I have this. Could I have canceled it? Yeah. I have a lot of issues with people pleasing, and like a lot of autistic people have like an intense sense of justice. I have an overly intense sense of commitment. So like the amount of webinars and master classes I have led for you guys while I've had like stomach bugs and stuff, where like I run off to puke midway through or something and no one has noticed. It's amazing. I'm very good at like fighting through some of that stuff. When you're chronically ill, you get good at like ignoring things. But so like I just push through it sometimes, but I can't always. So the way that I make sure it's okay is I have like that's why this is set up this way. I have one thing I have to hit that week, and that's it. That's like I have to hit those things. And because I only have like 4 or 5 things, if I lose a week, like okay, let's say I get sick week 1, I only have 4 or 5 things. And like realistically, you can usually get them done in the other couple of weeks. Like we're not trying to max out our weeks here. We're trying to have like, here's the thing, the individual thing I'm doing, and then I'll move on to the next thing. And usually I think of it as like one day worth of work of whatever I'm planning so that then I can move on to the next thing after. Some months that's not true. Some months I do plan to like do a lot more. And I will say I get very stressed during those months because I'm terrified of feeling unwell. So this helps me as well as having this kind of schedule here where I can like roughly put something in some place and say, I would love to like launch my custom GPT course in February. Will I have time? I don't know. Will I feel horrible? I don't know. So I'm not committing to it yet. I'm saying that like right now it's in my schedule as green and it might move. It might go somewhere else. It might adjust based on how I feel at the time. Now, someone also asked about having like too many goals or too many things they want to do. That's where the wish list comes in. So down here, you're going to put anything extra you want to do. And a lot of these you're not going to touch. Because ultimately, if they were things that moved the needle, they would be in the regular schedule. So there's always been things in my wish list. I've had a rebrand on the mind for so long. I've had a content audit for She Knows SEO. I like started it in January and then like wasn't well, so I dipped. I've had like so many things I want to do, and I'm never going to do all of them. Like I'm just one lady, and even I could hire a million people. I would still come up with more things than what we could do. So I'm going to put all of them here. So it's written down. And so that if I have time, if I have like a day where I'm just like, you know what, I've got a lot of time and energy, I need something to do. The next things I can't really work ahead, it doesn't make sense. Go down to the wish list, see what's down there, do that thing. And so that's why I like having it written out here rather than me having to like overcommit to things. Because if you put them on your to-do list, it's just going to make you feel like shit if it's impossible to accomplish. Like I have a weekly to-do list that's like very, very rough. And I make sure that most of the things on that to-do list, I have actually pushed down so low because I type everything because of my arms, that I can't see them on the screen so that I don't feel like a loser or that I hate myself or something for not achieving them. They are wish lists. They are to do later. I have one thing maximum per day that I quote unquote have to get done. And even then, usually it's more like 3 things a week. It's not even like one thing every single day. I'm gonna go on ADHD side quests. I'm gonna like get new ideas. I'm gonna move things around. That summit, I got that idea during a blackout 2 weeks ago at my house where we had no power for a weekend during like a 6-foot snowstorm. It was insane. Got the idea and I was like, shit, I've locked in my whole schedule. So that's how I came up with the color-coded priority list is I was like, well, I told my team we were gonna do the custom GPT course. I think it was that or the trending topic course or whatever at that time. So it's got to happen then. And it was like, does it? Like, will anyone die if we move it? No. For like a summit, it matters more to lock it in because you have other participants. So I'm like, that one to me, I want to lock in. But I was able to move other things because I shifted everything. So that's how I did this. Now, another thing that I always remind myself is like, no one's going to die. We're not doctors. We're not like here operating on somebody. We're not the president. We're not like making life or death decisions. We're content creators. What we do matters. I'm not discounting that, but it's not life or death. So it is okay if things move. It is okay if something doesn't happen. The Profitable Part-Time Blogger has been like 6 months delayed getting done. I'm finishing the email marketing module this week and next, and then the digital product one is going to have to wait till January. It's kind of what's going into week 1 of January, which is why we're shuffling things a bit. And that's like because life came up. My grandma got really sick, and ultimately, what would I think of in 5 years? Would I be like, oh, well, like I didn't get to see her in her last few months, but I got this course done. I really doubt I was going to think that. Like, I think I'm much more likely in a number of years to be like, I'm so glad I got that time with her, that like I recorded all her stories, that like Theo and I got to see her. She doesn't really understand dogs, so she always just kind of like taps his head, but he loves her. Largely because she drops a lot of crumbs for him. So like I got to like have those memories with her, and I got to like yeah, just like be with her. That matters a lot more to me. So it's okay that some of this stuff is going to get adjusted and moved around. Now, I did mention triggers and things like that. So in the planner, something else I added after the monthly goal and like the action steps you're going to take is the boundaries. Now, I got this idea from Laura Pope. So Laura, who is Adventures with Laura. I mostly follow Puglo at this point, which is her pug that I'm obsessed with. I may have gotten the name wrong. I will check and put it in the description. But she posted on Threads that she's like made a list of boundaries of things she will not next year. And I loved that. And I think it is just as important to set your boundaries in stone as it is to set your goals. So like 30K per month, I'm like, yeah, I can definitely like, I want to see it. I want to visualize it. I want it in my brain all the time so I remember to do it. Same thing with my boundaries. So I'm actually writing out my boundaries, and I'm making a little wall like beside my desk, just beside the window. I may have to not put it there because then it'll be in all my videos, and my writing is really horrible. So it might go over above Theo's food bowl. But I'm gonna make like a little wall for myself of like, this is Nina's boundaries for the year. So it's stuff like I am now not letting myself do more than like a certain number of summits in a year, because this year I gave up so much of my energy to other people, and I felt like everyone was doing me a favor for me being there. And I was like, actually, I don't think that's the case. Not that necessarily I'm doing them a favor, but that like there is that connection. So I want you guys to also write out some boundaries for yourself. I want you to like try and like roughly plan out what you're going to do in the new year, to make sure that you're not in the same old routine, that you're not doing the same thing that's going to kind of fuck you up. So one thing that I did when I was doing like my 6 months of 50K is, sorry, that's sessions. I always say 50K, and then I realize I also always assume that that means, sorry, Theo just walked over. That means money. So no, it's 50K sessions. And so I realized checking Google Analytics every day, not helpful. I was doing a lot of those like for like, comment for comment things. Not helpful. I was jumping from Pinterest to Twitter to TikTok to, there was something called Jump Rope back then, and it's like since been defunct, to Insta to whatever. I didn't even have a freaking phone to take cameras or to take photos with. Like my phone camera was broken because I dropped it. So like I was doing all the things, but I wasn't committing to something. And so the challenge helped with that, but having it written down, the things that like I would not do was really helpful. So even now it's like we have certain rules because like I am quite a people pleaser, and I do genuinely find most things fun. Like I freaking love what I do, and I wish I had the energy. Like I wish I wasn't one of those people that could only work like 20 hours a week. Everyone's always like, I want to work less. I'm like, in my dream life, I'm not sleeping. I'm just like working all day, all night. But my body can't do that. Like, I'm going to be able to do this session today, and then I'm going to nap, and I'm going to have to take a headache pill because having like my neck elevated for 2 hours has now started causing spinal issues because my body is broken. So I can't do the things other people can. So I have my boundaries of like, I am not going to sit at my desk for more than 2 hours. I am not going to I don't know, work more than 20 hours a week, whatever. I want to like basically make kind of a 10 commandments, although I think it's 8 commandments actually, of like what I'm not going to do next year. And keep this updated, keep it somewhere that you see it. I might even try to find a way to put it like maybe like a stand behind my desktop or something. So I always see it before I commit to things. I think that that's really, really important. So then some other stuff that prevents kind of overwhelm for me at least is again treating it like what's the bare minimum I need to do. Everything else is a bonus. But then what I do after that is whenever I'm feeling like, oh, I didn't get enough done, I'm like so behind, I'm like not doing enough, I do what's called a done list. My therapist taught me this, I'm obsessed with them. Every day after I'm like done work and usually feeling like, oh, if only I could have worked one more hour, I would have like gotten to that thing that I wanted to do. Like I didn't really get stuff done today. I write out everything that I did. So I was doing this on Instagram on my stories for a bit. This is why I'm going to kind of move it to this Google Doc that I'm doing in January. And I'm going to write out like everything that I did in the day. So usually when I do it for myself personally, I include things like waking up, like having a shower, walking Theo, having a cup of tea, drinking more water, all of those things. I'm realizing as I say that, I haven't touched my drinks this whole time, and that's why I brought them here. My bad. But having those like really specific things written out shows you how much you did in a day. And especially if you're neurodivergent, if you haven't heard of spoon theory, look it up. But essentially, like what is easy for someone else to do is much harder for us. My sister was like at my house for a couple of days this week, and like she can just do stuff. She can just like go outside and it's like not a production in her head. She can just like we were looking for a Christmas tree. We haven't got one. It was a whole thing. But we like went out to go get one and she just like showed up and was like, let's go get a Christmas tree. And I was like, wait, what? Like, no, this takes like 3 days of planning, like for me mentally to be okay leaving the house in search of this. And she was like, no. So it's stuff like that. So making sure that like you're like looking at all the things you accomplished and then realizing how much energy those all take for you. And it's going to take different amounts for different people. And some days, yeah, some days the one thing you did is like you got up. Even if you didn't eat, if you didn't somehow blink or breathe or go to the bathroom or like turn on the TV, if you didn't do anything else, like you just woke up, that's still an accomplishment. So having it written out helps so much. So I do that every evening. I find it really, really helpful. Just to kind of like also almost give myself permission to rest in the evenings. Then I recommend setting other boundaries as well. So like I don't have social media on my phone. That's been incredibly helpful. I did that last year and it was a game changer. So I can't access socials from my phone. Is that frustrating? Sometimes, yeah. And definitely I always try to go and do it. I did start like a TikTok account for Theo. So that one is like just cute dog videos. So that's the only social media I have on my phone is that way I can just watch cute dog videos. And I've specifically trained the algorithm. I never want to see anything business related. So having things like that is like a good way to limit yourself and set boundaries. I don't have my work email on my phone. Now that was a problem when I accidentally like on weekends I also like log out of everything everywhere, but I got a new laptop and I forgot I hadn't like authenticated everything yet. And so I got locked out for like 3 days. It was not great. Mistakes happen. Honestly, again, in those 3 days, no one died. It was fine. So making those things clear to yourself is really helpful, I find. Then I also recommend setting like maximum hours. So think of yourself like you're an employee for yourself. Like, okay, I'm working for She Knows SEO. What's my contracted number of hours per week? The best way I've ever learned to like hit your work goals of like how many hours you're going to work is only like starting only working that amount. Number one, because when you work like 40, 80, whatever hours per week, you fuck about online. Let's be real. You start playing with stuff, you start going onto Facebook and having fun, whatever. You start scrolling for no reason. You're wasting time. When you know that you only have like 10 hours a week to work, you get stuff done. You power through it because you know that you only have that much time. So I find that really important. So set your maximum hours and then like, yeah, once in a while, you have some overtime work you got to do. But the main like kind of core of your business, be very clear about how many hours you're working. And the same thing goes for taking time off. So my rule is like it is your business. It is literally your job not to burn out. It's so important. So because of that, it is also my job to take time off. It is my job to make sure I am always taking at bare minimum a day off a week. And that's from every business I do. For me, I also have like I have a day off that's like a fun activity day off. And then I have my sensory reset day because I really struggle with like doing too much, even on those days off. And then I burn myself out more because like my battery is like a faulty battery. It's leaking battery juice or whatever. So I need to charge up more than other people. So for me, Saturday is always my sensory reset day. I don't talk to anybody. You usually won't find me on social media. If you do, it's because I've moved it to another day. My friends and family know that like they're not really going to get a response from me on Saturdays. If it's urgent, then they can like press me, but whatever. Usually Theo and I lie on the couch, we watch shitty TV, I stare at the ceiling. That's it. Maybe I write some stories in my head. That's a thing I like to do, but like that's it. I'm not doing more. And then Sunday is like a fun thing I get to do, but it's not like it's not a ton of activity, but it's still a reset from work. And anytime work comes into my head, just like a meditation, I write it down. I like notice the thought, I acknowledge the thought, and then I move on. I write it down because my memory's shit. I've had multiple concussions in my life, so I write it down because I'll forget. But I don't let myself work on it because you need that break. You need that time off. And that's something I did even when I was working 4 jobs and trying to blog, is I always made sure 1 day per week I wasn't working. Now, some people, like you have kids, you have other people in your life, you can't always take a full day. I want you to, like next year, 1 hour per week. It is literally impossible not to have 1 hour per week where you can just be on your own, that it can be an hour that's yours, that it's a not work hour. It's not like you have to be actually physically on your own. I just like being on my own, but it needs to be like a your choice hour. So you choose what energizes you, what fills you up, and it can't be work. So every week, I want to make sure that you are doing your 1 hour a week. And I want you to put in the chat that you're going to commit to that, okay? So commit to either an hour or a day or 2 days and tell me one of the things that you're going to do in that time off because I want you to get excited about it. Like, honestly, I love my couch rot day with Theo. It's so much fun. We cuddle up. He's basically a person. So, like, he likes to spoon. He's very funny. And we just like chill, and it's so nice. And so, I find a lot of that stuff is so helpful. Just giving yourself that reset. And if you can't do an hour all at once, do 4 different 15-minute intervals. Like, you have times that you can find, and ultimately you can make that time too. And I know I don't have kids, so it's harder for me to say, but like the parents that I've spoken to have all said 15 minutes, like 4 times a week is possible. So I have faith in you. Okay. And then, okay, then we're going to talk about balancing failures and pivots. So last year, I set the goal. If you watched my 2024 planning workshop, my goal was $1 million. I changed that goal in January after I spent about 3 weeks like sobbing on my kitchen floor and after I got checked back into a mental health ward. So I realized like I'm not okay. And I can't like let this income goal define me. And for me, the reason that I wanted that income goal is I felt like my worth was tied to my income. So because of that, I was like, whoa, 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 wait. Let's scale back. So I set a bunch of personal goals this year. I had goals of making friends and having at least like one thing I do with friends every month. I had goals about taking some trips for me that were fun. I had goals about certain amount of like work that I would do per week. And so actually like my big income goal, I scaled it from 1 million. At first I scaled it down to 500K and then I realized it wasn't specific enough. I scaled it to 400K of profit and I hit that a couple weeks ago, which is really great. And like I opted out of Black Friday and I still hit it. So like also don't feel like you have to just do things because other people tell you that's the time to do things. So for me, it was really important to be like, you know what, that I'm not okay. So I'm going to focus this year on getting mentally well. 2025, my goal is to get physically well. I've had a lot of issues with doctors this year, and I'm figuring that out to like try and fix some of my physical health and my mobility issues. And so because of that, that's one of my big goals. And so each month I have a certain amount of things I'm planning to do to get there. And so when things happen, it's okay to change these goals. Remember, like no one's going to die. If you're gonna die, you have to change that goal. Like that has to happen immediately. And ultimately, like money, traffic, whatever, it does not define your success. You define your success. And I think like the most important thing is happiness, honestly. I recommend following your fun. That is like my favorite thing. It's when I eventually write a business book, what I intend to call it. But I think it's so important to like scale back a bit and think about why that's your goal and like if you're just doing it to prove things to someone else. Now, I'm fine with spite. I started a new spite business this year. I love spite. I am a spiteful little bitch. It's my favorite thing. I think it's so fun, as long as it's not harmful. So if you're doing things to like prove your dad wrong, but they're hurting you, then don't do it. If it would also fulfill you, do it. Two birds, one stone. Great. I actually, this year, one of my biggest wins is that one of you guys from my community actually, like, my dad's a lawyer and I'm not gonna name who it is because confidentiality, they're a client. And so they came in and then they were like, "Are you related to Nina Clafferton?" And he was like, "Yeah." And then they fangirled over me in front of him. And it's the first time he was ever like, "Oh." First of all, he's always like, "Okay, is your business illegal? Like, what is this?" He doesn't understand the online world at all. My sister and I just learned this week that the way that he accesses his files, all of his files, is from Microsoft Word. So like photos, anything, he has to go through Microsoft Word to open them. So he was like, "What?" But it was like so meaningful to me. And like it was such a win. I was like, fuck yeah, that's so cool. So yeah, like that was a big thing for me. I had another failure this year. I was going to run the now boarding bundle, and we had a legal issue that came up like 2 days, literally 2 days before this happened. It cost me a bunch in legal fees. That was never a bundle I planned to be like profitable. The whole point to me was to help people. I wasn't going to put in the effort to like have a bajillion sponsors and like make it like I don't know, make 50,000 bajillion dollars or something. I was like, I don't care about that. I just wanted to get everybody traffic. Like all my goals with it were traffic for people. And then someone came in and decided to make what was ultimately deemed a fraudulent claim. But they decided to waste a bunch of time. And so because of it, I had to like stop it to do that. Now, honestly, again, follow your fun. I had lost the fun for this thing. I thought, because I'd never run a bundle before, that it was going to take like a week to set up and that would be it. And it would be easy. It was not. Bundles are so freaking hard. It was so much effort. It was so much work. And I did not want to do it in the end. There were a few different participants that were just being like really rude and entitled. The majority were great. We had like over 80 people. The majority were great. The people that were bad, I spoke to, so they know that they were bad. And like we had to ban a couple from my communities because they were so belligerent after it didn't go through. But like the problem was that like I stopped enjoying it. So like when I could run it again, I was like, do I want to really? Like it's not fun now. And anything that's not fun, I don't want to do with my business. So I decided not to. That was a huge quote unquote failure because that was my entire summer. Like that took up the majority of my team and my time, and I lost about $10,000 on it because of like legal fees and the cost of hiring people to like make a custom website and do web design and do social media graphics and like hiring softwares for things and developers for stuff. So like I yeah, I failed. Honestly, like it's a failure. That's what it was. It probably wasn't going to make 10K. If it did, it would have like just made 10K. So it was never going to accomplish that. And that's okay. I still hit my business goals this year. I still like am happy and had like a really solid year other than the grandma stuff this week. We're gonna put that out of our mind as we talk about it being a good year. But like I did get to spend a lot of time with her at least. So I just want you to remember that like shifts happen. Things dip and move. Now I had a 600K year of profit. Last year was 400K. That is a dip down. I don't feel like it's actually a dip though. I am so much happier. I am so much more confident in my business. I had so much more fun. Like to me, that's what's so important. And I would much, much, much rather actually get to like, yeah, to enjoy my business and like to be a part. Actually, sorry, as I'm thinking about it, I think the 600K was revenue. So I think it was 400K profit, in which case it was pretty stagnant. I'm like, I need to write these things down. I'm not very good at remembering numbers. If you watched the video last year, I said my number last year. So go watch that. Someone let me know in the comments because that's on me. But I do think it was a drop to some degree. I will say like my expenses a lot lower this year. I decided to scale my team back because I like was not enjoying having 40 writers. It was such a stupid mistake on my part. So I think it's important to like talk about these negatives so y'all know them too, so that you know that like I have not just had pure successes. I have wasted money on courses before. I spent $6,000 on this one 6-month membership that was the stupidest piece of garbage I've ever done. I got three really, really, really close friends out of it. actually, I think five, no, five really close friends out of it, and like one cool connection for business stuff. It was otherwise the worst wasted money in my life, and I wish I'd never spent the money on it. Equally, I did, and that's done. It's sunk. It's a cost that I spent, and it's a part of my story now, and that's okay. My kind of rule is it's if something like isn't going to matter enough to be in my memoir, it doesn't matter enough to worry about. And if it's a big enough deal to be in my memoir, it's going to sell copies of that book. So therefore, I need it for the plot. It needs to be a part of the plot. And any good writer knows you need some conflicts. So that's how I like mentally justify when things go wrong. And then I try not to cry in the cheese aisle of the grocery store because that tends to be where I have panic attacks for no apparent reason. Okay, so now my last two things, I know we're a little bit over what I thought we would be, but we're almost there to the Q&A, is my monthly business date check-ins. So every month, I learned this from, I think the first place I heard it was her first 100K. She does like money dates, where it's like you sit down, you check in on your finances. And I love that term. I think I learned it about 18, 20 months ago or something. So I've been doing it since then. And I already kind of was doing a version of this where monthly I check my analytics and daily I check my income. That I learned from Denise Duffield Thomas. So every single day I start my day checking my income because I find it really helpful to like motivate you to figure out like, okay, are you on track? If so, builds you up. If you're not, what can I do today that will move this needle? I find it very inspiring. If you don't, move it to the end of your day. But I do recommend checking often even if you're making $0. I have a new business I launched this year. It's still doing $0, partially because I think I haven't logged in about a month. I gotta deal with it, but it's still doing $0. I still check every single day. I think it's really important. So I would do like my monthly review of my analytics, what was working, what wasn't working. But I also do it with my whole business where I sit down and I look at my strategies. I look at everything that I did. So having those done lists is really helpful. I look at like how many of my action plan goals did I hit? Did I hit my overall goal? Did I hit my money goal? How did I feel about the month? Like, how did I feel about what just happened? Was it a good month or a bad month? I also write down like what health issues I had because I'm trying to track that. So I've learned that like I have really bad hay fever. I've learned that like certain things like that honestly, I'm not good at patterns for myself, so I'd forget. So I write it all down. That way, I can very easily remember to see it next year. So identify like what you did that won, lost, what you struggled with, what was fun, what you hated. Try to like basically adjust your plan going forward. So what I want you to do after this call is I want you to basically like make your plan for January, and then I want you to put a date in the calendar for, I typically do like February 1st, but adjust it as needed. I get to do that because like I work for myself now. If I was working in a business, I'd probably pick like Friday or Saturday or something when it's like I'm not doing a ton of work for them. Um, and then plan to sit down and just go through things. Now, I have a really good video on my channel as well, where Kylie and I did a talk about like she grew her blog to Mediavine to 100K page views in 10 months, I think it was, or something like that. It's on the channel. Go check it out. It's one of my interviews. It's in the interview series. She talks about doing a wine and whiteboard version of this that I think is really fun. I don't drink and I can't write and I don't own a whiteboard. So for me, I can't do any of that. But if you can, do it that way. Just plan like a date for yourself where you're going to be like, I'm going to sit down and review everything and go over all of it. And then just make it make sense to you and figure out a way that you can then figure out how you're going to adapt going forward. Because again, we don't want to get to November and then be reactionary. And now that comes to our staying motivated. So I didn't have you like solidify this down yet. If you did, don't worry, you can adjust this after. But what I like to do and why I like to stick it somewhere is this is something I used to do when I was learning Spanish, is I would put like whatever the word in Spanish was, and then underneath I'd put another post-it note that was the word in English. So I would know if I got it right, or vice versa, depending on what the goal of it was, I guess. But what I would then do here is ultimately you want to have your like goal for the month. And I like to put a post-it note or put it on a notebook so I can write beneath it. I want you to write your reward. So every month for your big goal, for your big sub goal, we should have a reward that you're going to get. And then I'm also realizing I keep like staying in the screen share. We can come back to my face. Hi. Um, but for the, so you'd have like the 30K and then beneath it, you'd have like whatever writing you're going to have. Or you can put two post-it notes and then flip one up and then one is beneath it. But I want you to have the reward beneath it because you're going to gamify things. So we're going to unlock whatever like bonus we get then. I also do this in that action plan that we have. I turn the text white beside like the week action plan. And then it's like, okay, once I finish my launch that week, in white, I have whatever I'm unlocking, and I don't get to turn it to a color until I finish that goal. And then I unlock something. So the way that I used to do this was that I would have like mini rewards. So it could be like a day off. It could be back then that was like my biggest thing that I wanted was like a day off. It could be like takeout from my favorite restaurant. It could be things that like you were kind of intending to do anyway that aren't like a big budget or money thing. But we basically just want to make sure that we have something that we're doing for us that feels celebratory. So something mini. Then for the whole month, once you like hit your goal, you do the thing, then we unlock another reward. So maybe it's like you get to go to a spa. Maybe it's like you get to, when you're going on that holiday you're already going on, you book the fancier tour that you wanted, whatever. Have something that is like the carrot on the stick or whatever, the light at the end of the tunnel. I find that really helps. I also find for tasks that I hate, what I do is I have like, again, like snacks on my desk. And so it's like, oh, as I'm writing an affiliate post, each header section I finish, I get a chocolate chip or something because I am literally motivated like a child and like a dog, basically. Theo and I are very much the same that way. So that is everything we've gone through. So my challenge to you is I want you to make sure that you have your goal written down somewhere where you're going to see it every day. If you have nothing else done at the end of our session, this is the one thing I want you to have done right now that you're going to stick somewhere so that you can see it. If it falls off for whatever reason, sometimes that happens. Write another one, put it back up. That's okay. I know for me, like when I would like be traveling a lot, it fell off all the time. But just like write another one. It's okay. It's not a sign from the universe or anything. Just stick it somewhere so you're seeing it and manifesting it. And I promise you it helps because also when you start playing around on Facebook or something, you're like, oh, is this helping with my goal? And if it's not, you tend to stop doing it. So it does help a lot. Okay, I'm gonna give us like a minute break because I need to like take a drink for a second and scroll back and grab all of our questions. But we are officially in the Q&A. So now is the time to drop all of your questions in the chat. I'm gonna just turn off my screen for 1 second because honestly, something in my eye is itching me so bad. So I wanna go just like wash my eye quickly. I'll be right back. I promise I'm not sick. It's genuinely something in my eye. I tried like a new under eye cream and I think that maybe it's stuck to my eyelash because it's bothering me. And I will go through and gather up the older questions and we'll work our way down. And again, I'm happy to stick around and finish out the questions. So it is okay if we go a bit longer. And if you're rewatching this and you have more questions, pop them in the comments below or come over to the SEO for Travel Bloggers Facebook group. One of my wish list items for like a year has been changing that to SEO for bloggers, and I have not had time. So yeah, you can ask me questions there. So I will be right back. And we're back. Okay. There we go. So I'm going to start reading through some of the questions. Again, pop them in the chat as we go, and I will keep answering. But I am at the past, so I will get to newer ones after. Okay. So first we have someone asked, do you set up Phoenix Travels asked, do you set up safeguards for times when you do get sick? Recently had a bout of issues that put me down from Feb to November. Yeah, so that's where like I set those kind of boundaries, but I also like honestly, I find it so helpful to remember that like we are not doing like life-saving work here. So it's okay if things shift. And I think it's also really important to remember that like most people with running a business, like it takes decades to be like really successful. And so it can take time. And the majority of people who scale really fast, like I am one of many who scaled really fast and then immediately burnt out or had a mental health crisis. So I think like slow and steady growth is so much better. And so if you have to pause to take care of yourself, do it. Like it's better. And then you just shift stuff. And I don't know anyone who, especially in the online world, we're mostly neurodivergent, we're often chronically ill, who isn't like very understanding of that stuff. The majority of things like I get from you guys are people telling me like, Nina, take a break. Like you're okay. We're fine. Go. It's all right. And I really appreciate that. So that's kind of where I have that, I guess. And then, yeah, having a team can help too. Just that way, like they can take up some of the slack. I definitely like have like my core team members. So I have like three that are kind of consistent and then ad hoc as I need. They basically like do the majority of stuff that I am incapable of, that I hate doing, or that slows me down. And again, because like I know I have a fixed amount of time, outsourcing to them was the best thing ever. When I first did it, I kind of didn't make enough to justify, I guess, bringing all of them on board the way that I did. Like it hadn't been long enough or it wasn't safe enough or whatever, as people say, but like it was the best investment, honestly. Like Alex alone, my business would not run without her help. And like everything that like automates and works well, anytime we don't have tech issues, it's because Alex did something. 99% of times we have tech issues, I did it. The other 1% is like glitches. It's like, so these things happen. It's okay. But yeah. Someone says, Penelope says, sorry, someone's like not loading the name fast enough. Is Q1 good or bad for pitching? I don't pitch that much in a way that like I don't do sponsored trips and stuff the way other people do. Mostly because again, health issues. Like I don't have the physical ability. I was like planning to do a bunch this year, and then literally everyone I spoke to was like, Nina, should you be scheduling these? And I was like, no, I shouldn't be. So I think it's like a good time to try. I've always heard, especially back when I did like I used to like travel right for like news sources. Budgets are always highest, like Q1 because it's a refreshed budget, so it's worth trying. I'd say the first week they're probably not in office yet, so give them a second. But yeah, I think it'd be fine. Okay, gotta scroll down a while to find more. I should have probably put these into a like other doc, but I did not think to do that. Darla says, what one thing really moved the needle on your sales slash profit? Oh, I don't know what one thing. Honestly, like all of last year, I kept being surprised when I was making money. Like literally every time something happened, it was like, oh, it worked. Like that did well. What? So for me, like I I don't know. I think like the thing that made it easy was the SEO sales funnels that I do, because then it just kind of like runs on autopilot. So like I make a sale. I think there was like 4 days this year I haven't made a sale. Otherwise, things are always selling, which is good. Um, I probably would also say like the community, that was a big thing for me. And I think like I don't do things the way other people do. So there's not one thing that I did. I do a lot of stuff, but I guess like following my gut and not just like listening to other people. So like a friend and I were talking around like Black Friday stuff, and she was like, "Yeah, you should never like launch in December because like no one has money." And I'm like, I did a sale last year in December, and it went great. I'm doing one now because I had like the idea to do it because I felt like it. Probably also a little bit because she said that, and I was like, let's just show you that it can be fine. Um, yeah, so I think just like following my gut and doing what works for me and knowing that I'm helping people. I think that was the biggest thing. It's just like really focusing on my audience. Phoenix Travels asks, how do you figure out what to use as an opt-in freebie or way to get email subscribers? Reverse engineer it. So think about what's the thing you want to sell. And the way I've always done it is like whatever I'm going to sell, I want to have like kind of a singular pain point that's on the way to that, but separate from that. I typically don't want the same pain point in its own product. So it could also be like a partial preview of the product. It could be like a different like section of the product or something. But my freebies, usually like the goal is for them to funnel to sell something. If you're just trying to get people on your email, then like the best opt-in is going to be whatever has the highest value transformation. Typically a freebie, you want them to have a pretty instantaneous transformation. So it's not like, oh, here's this thing that's like a 12-year system. That's why checklists do so well because someone can like actionably go through it immediately. Quizzes are amazing. I've always done really well with quizzes with Try Interact. I have a course on that. It's on sale right now. I also have like a little mini kind of intro to it in my review of Try Interact on She Knows SEO. Still use them, still love them, still works very well. And yeah, I think just like freebies that actually solve a pain point and are actually like interesting. If it took you 2 seconds to make, no one wants it. Like they want something that is useful to them and that fits with a strategy that you teach. And it really should like over deliver, not in the sense of just like being full of information. It should over deliver because the transformation is so big and important to them. And again, that it's actionable. It should make their life easier. So giving them like 100 hotels to stay in. Who's that helping? Giving them like, here's my exact itinerary, much more helpful. Da, da, da. See drama party asked by affiliate. Do you mean your product affiliate or affiliate posts, like affiliate sites? I think that's when I was doing the affiliate audit month. I meant affiliates on my site. So when I do a content audit, I do partially what's called an affiliate audit, where I go through and check for broken affiliate links. I make sure I still believe in all the affiliates. Like, have they started doing something weird or sketchy? If someone does, I stop using them. I like cut ties with a lot of different products last year that I was just like, no, I'm not a fan of your marketing practices now, or this year, pardon me. We're not quite in 2025 yet, but yeah, I just like adjust. Then also making sure like, are they converting well? What can I do to improve? What are my links doing? What are my product boxes doing? All that sort of stuff. So just like you would like, I just finished my funnel audit for my email funnels for She Knows SEO. So once Alex is back in the new year, she can have a lot of work to reinstate all these new funnels I made. Um, I haven't changed my funnels in 2 years, and I'm realizing like a lot of them are so out of date. A lot of them like call out like 2023 in the subject line and things like that. So much needed, but yeah, you just do an audit the same way. Basically, just a review of something to see what's working, what's not, and then to make changes to improve. That's essentially all an audit is in our world. Da, da, da. Oh, that question's about like if they should do that one. I get, or like they're like define silos question mark maybe. Da, da, da. Thank you, Wandering Smileys, for all of the help at being such a good little assistant. I really appreciate it. Uh, Okay, sorry, I know this is like not the most engaging as I scroll through to try to find everybody, but I want to make sure I don't miss any. I use the Finch app for gamification. Ooh, I'm gonna check that out. Never heard of that one. Um, okay, we got a lot of it. I love that like no, I hate that everyone has chronic like pain and ADHD, but like I appreciate that it sucks and it's sorry, like we're all in this together, which I do appreciate. And sorry, yeah, I'll put the links to the workbooks and stuff in the description. Sorry, that was me like messing up my tech. I'm so sorry. Um, Most people take time off. That's good. I'm really glad everyone's taking time off properly. Um, Thank you for your vulnerability and transparency. Always happy to. Love the read for 1 hour per day. I really think that's a good one. Spite makes me so much money. I love that too. I think Spite is very, very fun. Yeah, I was mad at an airline, so I made a whole website. We do these things because we have to. Tazim says, I feel like a failure because I don't like sponsored work and I feel like I'm missing out on potential money. I think that's like okay though. Like I quit a lot of things that I was, and I say the word quit because I think there's a negative connotation to it, but I don't think there should be. Like quitting smoking has a great connotation to it. And I think the same thing here. Like if it's something that's not good for you, there's no wrong way to make money unless you're hurting people. But there's wrong ways for each individual person. So like doing a lot of brand sponsored work, I don't like doing because like I really struggle with deadlines. I struggle with like not being able to like have my own voice. And sometimes some brands aren't okay with that. And so I'm very picky about who I work with. And like they get a lot of emails and contacts and stuff ahead of time to like make sure that they're okay with working like they have to work with me, not I'm working for them. I don't like that term. So yeah, I think it's okay to like not do things that don't work for you, and that's fine. Like a lot of people love Pinterest. I tried so hard early this year to get into it, and I just don't care about the photos. Like I'm not a visual thinker, so it doesn't work for me. But for other people, it's amazing. For my friend Natalie, she freaking crushes it with Pinterest. My brain doesn't work that way. Same with social media. I've outsourced all of my videos and like pictures for Instagram and TikTok, and I have a team doing that now. And it's so much easier for me. It's so much more fun. We do like a cool content shoot day in the city, and like they rent out a studio for us, and like yeah, it's all very fancy. So there's just like stuff that's wrong with what works for you, not what's working for everybody. Um, Yeah, I think the links are suddenly mad at people who are dropping them a lot. I will repost them in just a second. Uh, and yeah, thank you for the boundary screen is showing. Is that now? Hope it's not showing now. I don't know. I think I probably should wear stuff. Um, I'll share the link in just a second. I just want to see. She hit refresh. I'd love to know about your team and what supports you have. I'm in awe you work 20 hours a week with the amount of output/content you create. Who is on your team and what do they do? So my main team members, Caleb is my editor and kind of writer and kind of assistant. Like he's kind of ad hoc at this point, kind of does a bit of everything for me. Basically, if I send him a note and I'm like, hey, could you do this thing? Usually he can, which is kind of cool. We first met when we were at a conference together. He was a writer for a friend of mine. And then I was like, hey, do you want to come and manage 40 writers I plan to hire? And he was like, what? And then I disappeared into the woods for the majority of the beginning of last year and left him to deal with them. And he proved himself then, trial by fire. So he's great. Then Sarah is they're a husband and wife duo, so she also works for me. Same thing, kind of a bit of everything. But she specifically also does like web design and graphic design for me. So like the custom now boarding bundle website, that was all her. We're working on a new custom coded She Knows SEO, which I'm super excited about. And yeah, they kind of do a bit of everything. And then Alex is my online business manager. So she started as a VA and then she's kind of scaled up to the point where like now she kind of manages everything. So one thing I have in my calendar every week that we do every single week, and she introduced me to this, is we have a Voxer meeting for an hour at like 9 a.m. every Tuesday. Now it's just before my therapy, so it's like a weird way that I start my Tuesdays. Tuesdays are like not a day that I typically work because of that stuff. But Tuesday morning we sit down and just like she goes through like all the things in my inbox. She completely manages my inboxes for all my different websites at this point. She like figures out, she's kind of like a Nina Wrangler slash gatekeeper slash tech wizard slash everything. So those are like my core team members. And then I just like I have certain people that I hire for certain other things when I need something. So I have like 3 people that I hire for writing if I need to. I haven't done it in a bit because I've been enjoying writing. I haven't published stuff yet. I need to actually, I have like 50 drafts I need to get through, but I've been enjoying it. I have a new YouTube editor that's coming on in the new year. I have my social media team, so they're on contract. I think we're on like month 2 or 3 of that, so we're like working on it to see how it works. I'm loving it so far, and so with them, then like they also have a team that they're bringing into it because like they don't, not one lady runs it. There's a bunch of people. Then I have a friend who's a copywriter sometimes, like she's going to be redoing the Profitable Part-Time Blogger sales page soon. Yeah, basically I just have like a lot of people that like whenever I need something I can hire essentially. But usually like core every single month, it's me, Caleb, Sarah, and Alex essentially. And then April Duke says, when is a good time to start an email list? Also, what is a good email list plugin/service? I don't recommend plugins. As I talk, I'm going to grab the links for everybody. I don't typically recommend plugins because they slow down your site a little bit and they're just like not super helpful. So what I recommend doing is just like embedding the like the newsletter bit. Or you can also like use a pop-up, which is just like HTML that you're going to put in or in your header or footer, depends. I like ConvertKit. It's what I'm using right now for the majority of my sites. It is so helpful with their creator network thing where like it basically connects to other creators and then like builds you together. So they now have a free plan up to 10,000 subscribers where you get one automation and one thing for sale, but you can't choose who you're recommending. So I have a paid one so that I can choose. I've also used MailerLite and I also really like them. I hate MailChimp. I'm not a fan. Flowdesk, I see like good and bad things there. My main thing is like they don't connect to enough stuff for me, and I don't love their automation like limitations. So, and their analytics limitations too. So for me, ConvertKit and MailerLite are my 2 go-tos. And then as for when to start, I would say like have some content first. So for the Profitable Part-Time Blogger, I estimate like I think we estimate about 30 to 40 posts before you would start it. But that's mostly just like you need to have some amount of content to be sending them to or to set or to like get information from them on. And then basically as long as you're able to sustain it, you're kind of good to go. So you can also like my friend Jessie on a journey taught me this where you can set up like a 1 year welcome sequence. So it'll send to them for a year. So you don't have to like keep dealing with it. So you could set and forget like 1 email a month at any point and then just go from there. But yeah, just gotta play around with it. Tazim said you love my top. Oh, thank you. So I got this because Molly Burke, Burke. She's a blind content creator on YouTube. I'm obsessed with her and her dog Elton John, who's a service dog. She did an Amazon haul, and I was like, I've never bought clothes off Amazon. Typically, I'm not a fan, but I've tried to go shopping 3 different times for sweaters this year and had panic attacks every time. So I was like, I need sweaters. It's cold where I live. So this is one of the ones she suggested. It was like, I don't know, 63 bucks or something, from Amazon. So she's a video on it if you go to her channel at Molly, Molly Burke. Yeah, it's a really nice sweater and it's so cozy and the arms are like big and like baggy. So it's really cute, which I really like. Yeah, but I got a couple that I really like now. So probably not the most sustainable option. And I will be trying to find better options in the new year, but if you need sweaters quickly, I was very happy with it. Um, da, da, da. Dee says, your last year's plan helped me get my dream degree and work with NGO Clinic. Oh my God, that's amazing. I'm so glad to hear that. I freaking love that. I'm gonna screenshot that because like this is another thing I do is I keep a folder on my desktop. It's called my positivity folder. So anytime people say nice things to me, I screenshot it and put it there. And then when the little shame monkeys in my head are being dicks, I go and open that up and then you guys make me cry regularly, but like good tears. So I definitely recommend that too, like to keep you motivated. Da, da, da. Oh, it scrolled again. Phoenix says, do you have that formula for amount of traffic slash subscribers and general earnings? That is in the Profitable Part-Time Blogger. So that's where you have to go to get that. Because that's kind of my USP that I teach in there. For Phoenix, do the quiz platforms cost anything? Yes. So try Interact. Use 300 a year on their base plan for 5 quizzes. That sounds right. 3 or 5 quizzes, I don't remember. But any quiz platform that you want to like collect emails, you need to make sure you're paying for it. You can set it up manually. I tried to do one manually that I coded with ChatGPT. It's going to cost you the same amount, honestly, and you're not going to have analytics. So like it's not worth it. I think it's much better to just invest in it. I have gotten like 10,000 subscribers for one of my sites from them. And it's a really great way to engage people. So I'm a big fan. Uh, da, da. This Latina Travel says, oh goodness, it's freezing. There we go. As a new blogger, how do you determine a realistic number of views on your page to set as a goal? Realism does not technically have a place in manifestation, is what I will argue. I think it's like dream big. I mean, I didn't think I could get into Mediavine in a year when I set that goal, and I did it in 6 months. And I went from at the beginning, I had 5,000 page views, and I went to 65,000 page views in 6 months. I actually think beginners have like a better shot with SEO right now, where you don't have like any negativity holding you back and you don't have to do a content audit month because content audit months take a lot of time and effort, which is why I'm showing everyone mine next month. But also, I don't think I'll finish it, which is why I'm adding in all the other stuff I'm doing as the bonus. If you get anything or donate to charity in the cost of living sale, or cost of living is fucked sale, pardon me. I'm not selling cost of living. Um, so yeah, I would say that like basically set a goal that makes sense to you. So if you are aiming for a certain income level, then the views could kind of relate to that. So people often say that like for every 1,000 views, you should get $100. I don't think that's true. I've never seen people really get that if they're not monetizing properly. Equally, I can say that for She Knows SEO, it's much, my ratio is way better than that. So I think it's just like about figuring out what works for you, basically. Um, yeah, just go with your gut, honestly. Aim big. 50,000 sessions, 100,000 page views, those are pretty common ones, and then just like reverse engineer from there. She hit refresh says, another question about your team. Do you pay hourly, retainer, salary by project? Depends on the person. Usually, I would say think so Alex and like Caleb and Sarah, it's like a number of hours at a certain rate per week, and then we adjust and like increase if needed. But it's like that's like, or sorry, per month, because like weeks can vary a bit. But I'm like, okay, this is like the time I need you for essentially. Um, and then it's an hourly rate for that time. And then for ad hoc, like when Sarah developed like the site for me, obviously that was like a full design project. So then I paid for that project. And we like agreed on the salary or like rate for that. They're not employees, like especially because I'm Canadian and I have to do a bunch of stuff to like legally have US employees. They're all based in the US. Um, I don't actually know how I would set that up. Now, I do have a rule for myself after last year. I did said this in my the biggest mistake I made with my business video when I hired 40 writers in a month, which was such a dumb idea. Not their fault, my fault. I fucked up the entire thing. Turns out I hate managing people and I don't really want to train beginner writers full time. Um, I paid them like 20 bucks per first for the first article. It was 20 bucks for a 2,000 word article. Then it was 20 bucks per thousand words. And then like literally every or every month after that, I was like scaling till at the end. I think we hit like 80 per thousand word or something like that. Because I felt so bad where I was just like, I don't feel comfortable paying less than I would have been comfortable getting paid, even when I was a beginner at that level. I once got paid $25 USD to write an entire book when I was 16. It was the dumbest thing I've ever done. So I think predatory pricing is a really bad thing in the industry. So my rule for myself is that, pardon me, I never pay anyone less than minimum wage in my location or their location, whichever is higher. So if like mine is, I don't know, I don't actually know what it is in Canada anymore. We've changed it semi recently. Let's say it's like 20 bucks in Canada, but it's 25 bucks in their location, then I'm going to pay 25 bucks. I do adjust that obviously for like currency differences, but yeah, that's kind of my rule for myself. So I would never basically pay anyone, I think like 15 USD is probably the lowest I've ever seen as like a minimum wage, but I have to check that. And even then, I don't love that, so I'd probably go higher than that. So for me, that's a really important thing. And I think it's really important to figure out what feels comfortable and ethical for you. Denise Duffield Thomas always says like there's no inherent morality to money and you get to decide what kind of rich person you want to be. And so for me, it's very important that I uphold values and ethics like that really matter to me. So I know a lot of people talk about like hiring someone from onlinejobs.ph or something for $1 an hour. Genuinely, I tried it once and like I hired them and immediately bumped it up to $10 because I was like, nope. And then they also were like not very good. So I'm like, didn't like it. It wasn't my thing. I'd rather pay for quality. Yeah. Um, then D says, can you talk about managing with blogging and three part-time jobs? So I had a full-time job and three part-time jobs, and I was blogging. It was a lot. I was working as a law clerk. I will be fair, it was kind of part-time, I guess, because they did not have enough work to give me. I was bored, which is why I took the other jobs. So then I also had technically another part-time, like 20 hours a week job writing for, I think technically I may have violated a contract doing this, but it was for a US law firm doing like blogging for their website, which I think probably would have been a conflict of interest if anyone had actually looked at what I was doing. My bad. It was a different type of law, so I don't know. But I was doing that, and then I was also managing an editing project, and then I was also doing a bunch of freelance proofreading on the side as well, because I was broke as shit. So, and living in Canada is so expensive. So that was kind of like all my stuff. And so largely you just kind of I think it's like you're like a gas, like you expand to fill the space you have. So it's like whatever time you have, your task will take how much time it takes. Sometimes my writing quality for a week like wouldn't have been my best work and it sucked, but I was like not like sorry, it sucked to me, but it was still like good quality. And I feel kind of shit about it, but I'm like but I had a bajillion other things happening or I was sick or something. With the freelance stuff, you couldn't really take time off, so it was quite hard. Um, and I had just gotten Theo, so I was raising a service dog puppy who was smart enough that he could open freaking doors. So that was a whole shebang. So yeah, I don't know. I think I just prioritized what mattered and then slept a lot. And then I didn't really have hobbies. That was I think that was mainly how I did it. It's like no hobbies for that period of time. I think I treated blogging like a hobby. Um, and so I did, I think 3 months in, I quit the two part-time gigs. I kept the law firm and the writing job. And then another month or two in, I left the writing job. I think around April, and I think I got to meet Divine in May. I left the writing job. And then I kept the law firm job until January of last year when I had my first 30K month. And then I was like, I'm out. Bye, lawyers. And I'd also like gotten debt free. So that was important to me. And someone says, Lana says, is it guaranteed that traffic will go down after doing a content audit slash update? No, not always. However, Basically, what's happening is it's like if I went and I came, like I went and I got my hair done and I came back and I had like blonde hair to my butt. It would take you a little bit to recognize that I'm still Nina. You have to like take a minute to process that. So Google has to reprocess what like happened to your site essentially and what changed. The main reason it would drop is if you take really high performing posts, like if they're ranking number 3 and you made major changes to them to try and get to number 1. It's likely you drop down a bit while Google's reevaluating you, and then you could bounce back up. It's a risk of updating content that's performing well. Anything that's not performing well, it won't hurt you to update it because it wasn't getting you traffic anyway. So that's not where it's going to hurt you. Now, when I did it, I had 180 posts on my website, and I always forget it was 50 and 30. So I deleted 50, no index 30 or vice versa, and then I redid 100. That was like the numbers I set for myself. I had wanted to redo like 150, and I didn't have time. So I just like got rid of the rest, whatever I couldn't finish. And so I redid the 100. Most of them needed a full rewrite. So they were like a complete overhaul, completely new post, complete adjustment. Um, it was, yeah, it was a lot of time and effort. And so because of that, though, my site was like basically entirely new. Google was like, what is this? It was kind of like I had blasted my house to the ground and then built a new house, like all of a sudden. And it was like, wait, what? What happened here? So my drop was like significant because of that. Now, there can be like some rifts with topical authority. If it's like, okay, one post does really well on like Florida, and all your other Florida posts are like not bad, they're not performing well. So you update them. If they're getting reevaluated, but they were boosting up that one post might drop for a minute while things are happening. Typically, it'll all recover within a month, max 3 months. Worst case, you would just undo the changes. That's kind of it. But yeah, it's not guaranteed. I will say basically every time I've done like a full scale one, it has hurt me for a minute, but it has massively helped me long term. She hit refresh, says, thank you. I also don't feel comfortable with predatory pricing. I'm in that right now, hiring and figuring out what I can afford and what is ethical slash feels right. Oh, that wasn't a question. So good. Glad you had that. We're working on hiring some like ad hoc stuff. If any of you guys are like, what's the word? Developers and do plugin design or like plugin coding, or Google Chrome extensions or any sort of like basically like anything where you can code either a WordPress plugin, a Google Chrome browser extension thingy, or a web app, please email support@sheknowsseo.co, and in the subject line put I'm a developer because we're looking for some in the new year. That's I'm my Q3. I don't think I mentioned this. Q1 is it was going to be that course. Now it's kind of course and summit. Q2 is the launch of PPTB. Q3, my plan is to launch a plugin store where I get someone to fix some of the plugins I've made because I have about 12 now. And then Q4, I'm planning to launch an accessibility software, which was another fail of mine from last year. Mental block, I forgot about it. I was too chicken shit, honestly, to figure it out. Oh, Chris, I need to hear back from you. Yes, we need to talk. Because I don't think I saw an email back from you. I'm gonna check. Okay, we need to definitely talk. But yeah, I was making an accessibility software, and then I got quoted from one company an insane amount of money, and then I panicked, and then went, I'm gonna fail at this, cried, and then just like left it. So now it's important to me to finish it this year. So those are my kind of 4 quarters essentially, for at least one section of my business. Uh, Phoenix says, where did you find a service dog? Um, I think I've talked about this in other videos, but essentially I just found a dog, bought him, and then worked with a trainer. It's hard to give advice because it varies for location. So I'm from Ontario. In Ontario, you can get your own service dog and then go to a private company to train. In other places, you can't always do that. So the best practice is to go to a service dog trainer, even before your doctor in your area, and ask them what you should do. Oh, you wrote me, Chris. Okay, Chris, you must be in spam then. I'll go check. We've had some deliverability issues because I started a new email and I think I broke things. But I will go look at that right after this. I'm sorry then if you've been waiting for me to reply. Um, yeah, but sorry for the service dog. So what I did is I found a trainer, I wrote them, asked some questions. My therapist has a couple service dogs. She has 2. You're allowed to legally have 2 in Ontario. And so I asked her questions and then found a trainer. They helped me do what's called a Volhard test with Theo as a puppy. He was super, super cute. And then, yeah, it kind of worked out in the end. Now, some places you can train your own. Theo's my first dog ever that I've had on my own, and without knowing I was autistic yet, was so overwhelmed with him as a puppy. He was so loud. He was like so overstimulating, and he's far too smart. Like he can open knobs and stuff, not just handles. Like he can just open things. He's really ridiculously smart. He's gotten to the point now where he's kind of figured out where my car door has a thing where it's like a fingerprint sensor, and then it'll open the front door if you have the fob with you. His nose triggers it, so he's figured out how to put his nose there to open it. He can turn on a heated blanket. He turns on the fireplace regularly. Like he's a person in a fursuit. So he was a nightmare. So I couldn't train him. So yeah, and then I sent him to doggy etiquette school for I think 2 weeks or so. No, it was more than that. I think a month because I sent him and then I got COVID. But I was sending him because I was moving. And so I needed someone to help train him. Plus, I was moving house. And my trainer said, like, hey, you shouldn't you shouldn't be doing like have him in the house as you move. And he was like 8 months old and kind of a feral little machine. Not like humping, just like a lot of energy. So I don't know. So then they trained him, long story short. But yeah, just contact a trainer. They'll be able to help. Not all dogs are made for it, to be honest. Theo is like such a good dog. I don't think he was born to be a service dog. I think he was born to be a human being. So he does a good job, but it's like he's using a different part of his brain that isn't his main, like he's working against his brain a little bit to work. So if I did it again, I probably would have let them like source the dog for me. And I would love to like my next one, I want to get like someone else buy it when it's 2 years old. It's been trained, it's been like set. That's kind of my goal. My mouse died. Okay. Where can we see photos of your dog? He sounds adorable. I just started an Instagram account for him. That way I can stop spamming my normal Instagram. So it's called Theo Out and About. So Theo Out and About. It's where you'll also find like stories of me just doing random stuff. But that's all photos of him, and it has photos right now. I was sad last night, and when I'm sad, I play with my camera. So I took him for a little like doggy photo shoot in one of the parks near my house where, yeah, we just took some photos of him looking cute. He's adorable. He's asleep on the couch right now. Every now and then I see a paw just like shoot up behind the couch because he sleeps upside down. Okay, then duh, duh, duh. Chris says, how did you find writers? So for me, I'm very lucky that I can kind of be like, hey, audience, you guys are all content creators, help me. So at the time, what I did is I sent an email list, like an email, and I said, hey, I'm hiring. And I do actually recommend that for anybody in any sphere. We plan to send a hiring one in the new year for a few things that we need, even just like one-off ad hoc things. First of all, you're celebrating your audience and your community. Second of all, they care about your community and they care about like your quality and things like that. And you'd be surprised. A lot of people are like, oh, well, my audience are all like finance bros. Like they're not gonna write, or my audience are all dog owners. They don't write. I'm a dog owner and I write. Like, so you don't know what like skills they have. So I think that's always a good place to start. And they can also refer you to people. Like maybe they don't write, but their cousin or sister does, or something like that. 10 out of 10 recommend. That's been very helpful. My other thing is in my SEO for travel bloggers Facebook group. So initially we had a hiring thread. I've realized it's not working, so like a standalone one. So now we're going to have a monthly one that's going to come up every single month where you can post your own job listings. You can post for hire. You can ask for recommendations from other people. So that's in my free group. I just want to like make sure the whole wall doesn't have it, but we're going to have one spot for it there. Chris, if you want the names of a couple writers I work with, let me know. I'd be happy to refer you to them because I know your site and I know their style and I think it would fit. So yeah, and their travel, so they would know your stuff. The other thing, you could do AI. So that's another option. I personally do AI plus people. So like a lot of the writers I worked with, I trained them to do AI and human writing as well. And AI was just to like speed things up a little bit, especially early on when, again, I felt very uncomfortable about how much I was paying them. Divine Time Astrology says, what do you think of Yoast for SEO? Don't care. Like I don't like it. It's not my favorite. Equally, any SEO plugin is not perfect. I'm personally a fan of Rank Math. I like it a lot better. I think the free one just has a lot more to it that you can do with it. And Yeah, I would probably go with it. Yoast, I found a bit slow, but I haven't used it in like 3 years now. I also find like it doesn't have the same schema, which annoys me. So I'm a rank math girly, but any of them, all like that checklist they have, I have a rank math review on Chino's SEO, and in it I say like what of the checklist to listen to. It would be the same for Yoast. I'm like, ignore these things, listen to these things, because a lot of them will over optimize your posts because they're like kind of first of all, they're using keyword density, which hasn't been a thing for like since even kind of before I started SEO in 2021. So not great. But yeah, that's going to be um, the only reason not to listen to any of them there, but to not use it if you want a bunch of custom schema, because schema is really helpful for ranking and especially for AI search ranking for my tests. Tazim says, I'm basically blasting my home slash food blog to the ground. I deleted 600 posts. Oh, sorry, question mark is not actually a question, my bad. It's a rhetorical thing. Good for you, though. That's a big change. Da, da, da. D says, FOMO, how do you deal with it when you took pause for self-care and health? For a year, I was away from blog slash biz. It was hardest to fight FOMO, even though I had no time to work on it. Ooh, that's a good question. I have near constant FOMO, and I am constantly doing like the comparison issues of being like, oh, well, other people are doing that. I want to do it too. And especially if I see something that's exciting for other people or like they look like they're enjoying it, because I'm constantly like chasing fun and happiness. And a lot of times, like with that, I'm pursuing dopamine when I see other people are getting dopamine from it, even if it wouldn't work for me. So FOMO is like kind of just a natural state for me. So again, I just kind of come back to like, okay, I'll get there when I get there. Like they're at a different chapter in their life. And the best thing you can do is like go do something that lets you like live in the today and live in your fun today. That's going to be the most helpful. Also think about like, yeah, like your own specific goals and things that matter to you. So like this year, the 750K, I may have to readjust that a bit. I have to still like work out how much time I'm going to be taking off for doctor stuff in the new year. And it might change, it might increase. I don't know. If my Baba passes away, then I'm going to be out for a while because she is like my favorite person on this planet. And I'm going to stop talking because I'm going to start crying. And I've done enough of that recently. Um, yeah, so like I'm gonna adjust a bit based on that. And ultimately, I think like the best thing to do is to stop looking at what other people are doing and just focus on you and remember that like whatever you're doing is what matters and whatever's best for you is what's most important. Like I often compare myself to my little sister. She's an architect. She builds like multi-bazillion dollar cottages. I would say they're McMansions, not cottages. She's like building a bajillion right now. And I often get caught in that comparison of like, oh, well, she's making XYZ or she's doing this or she's doing that. So I should do this or that. And it's like, but should I? Do I want to? Do I actually want to do that thing? And even if it's something I want to do, I'm like, but do I want to do it today? Like, would that make sense for me today? Would that be fun for me today? And usually the answer is no. And it's just like a comparison trap. So I find zooming yourself away from those and out of those is really helpful. And then go do something that's fun for you today. And then you stop I at least I stop comparing myself to others when I'm having fun, and when I'm like focused on living in the moment. So I usually take Theo to the lake and I sit there with him and like I let him play and run through the water even when it's freezing freaking cold. This morning we did like an hour at a park near my house. That's like a bit of a national park kind of thing, or provincial park, I guess. And it was like so snowy, and he just ran around and he like kept bringing me branches. Then he kept eating all the branches. And then did try to take me out a couple times. He does that like because there's like a little path. So he'll like run right up the back of my legs. And yeah, I don't know, when I'm there, I'm like, does other stuff matter? Do I care that like someone else is running a summit or bundle in a way that I'm not? Do I care that someone else is doing whatever? And I just also think that like whatever they're doing is not my business. What I'm doing is my business. And I could compare myself to so many people on this planet, but I don't know, do I actually want their life? Do I actually want the time that would take? Do I think they're a good person? I've had to like cut some ties with people in the last year who I don't feel are aligned with my values and who, yeah, like don't kind of stick with community over competition the way that I do and don't like yeah, just like don't prioritize the things that matter to me. So like I could definitely like look at the stuff that they do or like hate scroll or something. I've never been that person. And like maybe it's because like I dated men and then realized I was a lesbian, but like I've never been like the stalk your ex kind of girl. Um, so for me it's like not, yeah, just not a thing. I'm like I don't want to like see other people's happiness and make myself unhappy. I want to chase my own happiness. Then D also asks, also if you had to give a few examples of minimum viable products or services when you took pause. I don't know what that means. What? Sorry, I don't understand the question, D. Could you rephrase it? I know the terms minimal viable products and service, and I know when you took a pause. I don't necessarily know, like, do you mean that sustained my income when I was pausing? Do you mean that like, um, that you could set up to pause? Or I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure what's happening. So if you could clarify, I'd appreciate it. Um, Jennifer says, any thoughts on how to handle these never-ending Google updates and prioritizing of AI and Reddit? No, because Google updates aren't going to end. There's always been a lot of Google updates. One launched while we've been sitting here. There's the spam update just launched as we've been here. I got a little notification popped up on my screen. So yeah, new Google update. Surprise. These things happen, and like it is normal for Google to do like 20 to 30 updates a year. They've stopped telling us about a lot of them actually, so it's just like the ones we know about are bigger now. Um, but ultimately, like I don't fear Google updates. And the reason I don't fear Google updates is because I focus on community. That's why like Profitable Part-Time Blogger, the whole thing is algorithm second, audience first, because it is exactly why I feel confident in all my businesses. It's why I'm so confident doing SEO right now for organic traffic, but like if it changes, it changes. And then I'll pivot the course and what I'm doing to something else. But right now it's working for me on multiple channels. So I'm happy with it. And yeah, you can't control it. And I don't stress over what I can't control. Not worth it. Not like I stressed about cheese. I stress about life. I stress that every time Theo goes to sleep, I'm like watching him breathe because I like my anxiety goes, what if he dies this time? Or like, what if something happens? My brain is like a disaster. So if I can't control it, I'm not going to panic. Everyone was panicked over like the death of third-party cookies. They didn't die. They just didn't die. No one was stressed about AI to this extent, and then it changed. Like things will happen and you can't control them. When you work in content marketing, you have to be willing to adapt to what's happening in like society. TikTok may or may not get banned now, January 9th or 10th in the US. We don't know. What can you do to safeguard against it? You can move your stuff to YouTube. TikTok is letting you download everything without a watermark right now, or repurpose.io will do it automatically for you. It's a really great tool. I love it. I use it all the time. But like that's all you can do. Like you can't stop it from changing. And if you can be mad about it, but it's not going to change anything. So I think it's really important to, yes, like tell Google when they're doing dumb stuff. And they've said, like at their creator summit, they said something broke and we're working on fixing it. It'll take a while. It's likely to be the middle of next year before it happens. So to me, I'm also like, okay, well, if updates are going to still be crazy, these are older updates they prioritized. So if they really get back to great content performing best, they'll do that next year. And I would say for the most part, for like half of the queries, good content is prevailing. For the other half, no. And it sucks when that happens. Many great sites got like shafted during that. I don't think Reddit's going anywhere, but I have seen even when Reddit started taking off with this that people don't want Reddit. So people are clicking through to actual blogs. I'm on Threads and Blue Sky and everything. And the amount of people like subtweeting Google and saying like, could we not have AI overviews, please? Could we not have any of this? Like, how do I just get results again? And then they keep having to screenshot the little like web button. So like people are telling Google they don't like this. And Google is ultimately a publicly traded company that like people kind of do dictate. So if enough people dislike it, they're going to have to change. And if they don't change to stay profitable, that means that enough people are liking what they're currently doing, and then we can't change that. So the best thing we can do is own our income, own our traffic sources to some extent with like a newsletter, but there's really no like single hack or something to be like, oh, just do this and then you'll be fine. That's not how any of this works with any content creation anywhere. And with AI, like optimize for AI search and then like get the traffic back from AI. That's what I'm doing. And it's been rising pretty steadily, which is nice. And it looks like ChatGPT search could be like the one competitor to Google that might actually overtake Google based on current growth. Could also be a fad. We don't know. We'll see. I'm gonna actually have a sip of my drink because my throat's so dry now. Darla said, I heard for travel, Q1 is also good. Fiscal year ends either. I don't know what that's referring to. I'm thinking maybe the pitching I was talking about before, but I'm not sure. D says, yes, what is the minimum you could do to keep making income when you took time away for health? I didn't think about that. Honestly, I just left. I was like, I can't, like, I think when you're in those moments when you're taking time out, it doesn't matter like what like getting things set up. I just left. I just like disappeared a bit. My team kept things running to some extent. I worked when I could, but yeah, that was it. It wasn't something that like I set up in any way. I already had my SEO sales funnels happening on my site. I already had all the products I had. You'll notice I like didn't launch stuff for most of this year. It's mainly the reason I had a lot of stuff I wanted to create. Couldn't do it. Wasn't okay. Um, I took a lot of time off and yeah, wasn't really accomplishing much. And even like a lot of times I was working, I was spinning my wheels a lot too, where it was like, okay, I'll just like keep refreshing things. I'll like spend a lot of time in the Facebook group because it was a good distraction, but like honestly, wasn't doing things that actually moved the needle. The needle kind of moved on its own. And I'm very lucky for that and very fortunate. And I feel like very, very happy that it worked out. I don't think I did anything that like necessarily set this up to happen. I think it was largely the systems I set up before, where like it's all the kind of passive-ish income stream stuff I've done anyway, which I teach in Profitable Part-Time Blogger because efficiency and basically the whole course is set up with like my entire goal in life and the thing I look forward to most every day is taking a nap on the couch with Theo. It's what I'm doing immediately after this. Well, I'll eat and then I'll go take a nap. So like it is structured so that whether your part-timer-ness, I guess, is because of work or whether it's because of health or just preference, you have that option. And so it's always meant to like build systems that can keep scaling without you needing to like every day show up for things. So for me, a lot of them are like I naturally get like anywhere from 30 to 50,000 people on She Knows SEO every month. Some months a little bit higher, but that's kind of usually I would say that's my average is somewhere in there based on different times of year. I have my email subscribers and they get an email every week. I have the Facebook group where I post stuff. I would batch work the like 1 or 2 days a month that I felt kind of okay. And then I would just go from there and see what happened. And then I already had like the funnels set up on my website, and then my email funnels, as I said, are kind of fucked. So fix those now, but they won't get changed till next year. So yeah, that's kind of the whole setup. But I didn't do anything for like minimum viable. It genuinely wasn't a concern. I was just like, honestly, I need to like not, I don't know, I'm gonna get dark here, but like not off myself essentially. So that was my priority. And everything else was secondary to that. And yeah, and most of the year, honestly, I thought I was gonna like, I don't know, because there were times too that I wasn't checking my income. So I was like, this might be 100K a year. And like a lot of that, I don't know, I felt really bad about that, I'll be honest. That even felt high because I wasn't checking. And then I started checking in the summer when I kind of felt like I was getting back to it. And then, because like I kind of got back to myself, and then I went to Puerto Rico for TBEX, and then like really felt myself and met some really great new friends. And then, yeah, what was it like right after I think, or a month? I think it was August. I had another 100K month, and I think it was like 100 and something K. And completely surprised me, blew me away. And then I was like, oh, I'll check my income. Oh, I've already hit 100K this year. Cool. So, yeah, even before that month. So I think it's just like figuring out, yeah, not stressing and just focusing on yourself and your health. And then like, who cares? And like, honestly, yeah, I felt excited when I saw that. Did I feel more worthy or happier with myself? No. Did it change my mental health? No. Just money. And I get that I'm very fortunate to say that. And obviously, I think that like you need money to live. Cost of living is insane right now. But um, yeah, I just think like prioritize you. And I'm very fortunate that when I came back to Canada, or well, I was in Canada, but I came back across Canada because I moved partway through the year because I was not well. I was able to like stay on my dad and sister's. First, it was they had a room for me. Then they decided to renovate their house, and so then it was a couch, and then Then now my sister got a mattress that's on the floor beside her bed. So I always like had a place, which was good. And I had people checking in on me and stuff. And even then there were a lot of costs, unfortunately, with other stuff and like having moved all of a sudden and canceled a lease and stuff. But it did mean that like I was fortunate to not have continuing costs going forward until I got my new house, when I felt better. So yeah, it's not super cheery. Was my answer. Then Phoenix asked, can you give a breakdown of your affiliate month weeks? Do you mean like what I did? Um, I think the main thing was just writing like freaking crazy. So for that one, the way that I batched, I think was more so I worked silo by silo. That's what I did. I had like there was like a whale watching month. There was like eventually when winter came and I realized I had not written anything about winter and I live in Canada and I was writing about Canada. Didn't help. So I started writing about a bunch of winter stuff, but I kind of did it like silo by silo or even cluster by cluster, I guess, more so because like I don't think I did that many for living abroad is like not a good niche for affiliate income if that's what you want. I made it work. I set up some custom affiliates. I did some stuff like that, all in the Profitable Part-Time Blogger. I don't mean to plug it that much. I genuinely, it's all I've been focusing on lately and I love it. I think it's the best thing I've ever made. But yeah, sorry, I'll stop like teasing it. Um, so yeah, I think I did mostly it would have been like different types of tours and I was doing like clusters that way for some reason rather I don't know why I didn't do like location clusters. It was weird. Equally, they were all in Canada, but I did it by like type of tour. And then I think the way I batched it, if I remember correctly, I think because I already knew like the tours and stuff like that, I did like 1 month of keyword research, like for like a week, 1 month, and then I used that for 3 months. And then I did 1 week that was like all my outlines, because that's how I like to work. I like batch my outlines, and then I wrote for like a week, and then I formatted for a week. I don't think I'd hired a VA. No, I didn't have a VA at that point, so I was formatting. So I used my AI blog post templates that I created that like format for me pretty well. So I put everything in there as best I could, and then would try to like speed up my formatting, and then I would like do my internal linking and stuff that week. And then I think that like I want to say the last week of the month I was still doing like some guest posting stuff, but I was doing a lot less at that point. And I was doing more podcasts, which is like my main backlink method now, and more fun for backlinks, honestly. Um, yeah, I think that was trying to remember if there's anything else. I think I did an affiliate audit in January. So I think I started all of this in June, May/June, like kind of May. I got in partway through May. Or no, I got it, sorry, I'm wrong. I got in partway through June, got approved in May, got on board. It took a minute, and then got, I think, set up in June. I think it was like 3 weeks, and I made $1,500 from Mediavine, and I was like, that's not enough to sustain me in Canada. So I did like a massive affiliate push once I saw kind of like the first week that it wasn't quite as much as I thought it might be. And then, yeah, spent about like 6 weeks really pushing things out, and I already had good funnels. I had my emails, so I sent that. Oh, that was the other thing is I think I think the first week of the month, I did like all my emails for the month, and then one of them was an affiliate. Yeah, those are my things. I think, again, I don't fully remember. It's been 2 years, but that's my rough memory of it. Now I would just start from the beginning writing affiliates for silos after I already had like 20 posts up. But I would like plan them ahead of time to like fit in the AIDA funnel. And then yeah, I might still batch them all and write them at the same time. But I would know where they fit better. And then I would like silo people to them. And then for emails, I still do like one when I said like launch a week, that's or launch a month, like that week, it could be an affiliate, it could be your own product. Da, da, da. Cool. I think that's all the questions. Thank you everybody so much. I so appreciate this. I've been like sinking in my chair. Theo came over and now he's just like licking himself beside the desk. I don't know. I thought he might want to be on camera. Sometimes he does. I don't know if he's feeling it today. But yeah, thank you everybody so much for joining me. If you have any questions after this, if you're doing your systems and setups and you're like, hey, does this goal make sense? Is this something that like, whatever, feel free to pop it in the comments of this post. The chat's going to end, so don't add stuff to the chat right now. Put it in the comments now. That way I will be able to see it. Hi, Theo. Oh, do you want to come say hi? Up. There you go. He just used his head to like lever himself up. I don't really know why. Hi. You want to say hi to all the peoples? You want to emotionally support them too? I don't know if you can hear it, his tail's hitting the wall. But yeah, just pop that in the chat or the comments, pardon me. And feel free as well if you want some accountability, come and post in the SEO for Travel Bloggers Facebook group. It's for any type of content creator. I don't care what niche you're in. Go and feel free to like post your yearly goal and then like ask, like look for accountability partners. You can definitely like just put that on the wall, reach out, meet some people, meet some friends. Yeah, the group is a really great place to get a community. But otherwise, comments here. Sorry, my screen's on this. Comments below for like things where you want me to help with. For yeah, like accountability for manifesting. Last year we had a bunch of people post like a screenshot of their goals, and I do really recommend that. Put it on Instagram, tag me. I'm happy to check it out. Yeah, thank you guys so much. And I really hope this is the best year yet for everybody. Again, the replay will be up immediately after this. Then within 48 hours, I'll get it onto the free podcast feed. And in the description right now, I'll just put the links as is. And then I'm going to go talk to Alex. And if there is only one link after like 5 minutes after I've ended this, it means we fixed it. And then now you can get the email opt-in. But please do also do the email opt-in. Even if you're already on my list, it doesn't send you anything else other than that the one email it's supposed to, which it's not. But it's just so I can like have your email so that when because I think based on this and the things people were asking in the chat, I'm gonna condense like a little summary, Cliff's notes or checklist of like the order we did this in for you guys. So I want to make sure you get that delivery. So yeah, thank you so much, and I hope you have a great Thursday. I hope everyone has a happy Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, every other event. I personally celebrate Christmas and Russian Christmas, so I hope everyone has a great, okay, that's my throat. Let's not do that. Has a great Christmas period. Theo, what do you have on your chin? Oh, he has yogurt on his chin. Great. That's lovely from eating his frozen yogurt treat. So I hope everyone has a lovely day. Yeah, and thank you again so much for taking the time for this and taking the time for you. And feel free to share this around. And my last plug is the cost of living sale is on, cost of living is fucked sale, pardon me, is on until Monday, end of day Monday EST. There's 30% off almost everything I sell, 3 different bundles, and there's the charity bonus that will get you access to that behind the scene months with me, where you're probably also going to get some like notes about Theo and the weirdness he does. Because he is slightly crazy. And again, basically a human in a fursuit. So have a lovely rest of your day. Bye, everybody. And remember, you deserve great things. You are safe to like aim big, and nothing is going to happen that's bad just because you believe in yourself and you take big risks.